Long Fei's self-deprecating voice continuously sounded in the air. He was not afraid of death. Even if death came, he was still prepared. But when death truly came, his heart was filled with desolation, and he didn't do many things he wanted to do. Lu Luoshi, Qian, many women have not been rescued. His people from the Long family, his grandfather and brothers had still not been saved. 14th dragon ancestor has not been saved. The main temple had not been overthrown. He really couldn't accept it. However, he was going to die now. Long Fei laughed bitterly. Although there are many regrets, this life of mine is worth it. Ha ha ha. God, thank you for giving me that experience. It's so King cool. Ha ha ha. Long Fei laughed madly. While he was laughing maniacally, suddenly, his idea was suddenly pulled away by a powerful force. In the next second, a world of dragon coffin appeared. Long Fei had never seen the gigantic world of dragon coffin so clearly before, but now he realized the cultivation world of dragon coffin was like a huge coffin. Could it be? Is the dragon coffin my own coffin? Ha ha ha. Sure. A huge dragon. From now on, you are my tomb keeper. Ha ha ha. Long Fei laughed. Roar. The huge dragon roared with some anger and said heavily, Brat, do you want to die? It's not that easy. Dragon Manor, Mu Clan, Universal Large World, Ancient World is still waiting for you. Do you want to die? No, wait, Long Fei laughed bitterly. It's a pity that the life and death school isn't controlled by you. Who said that I'm not in control? Your life and death gate are in my hands. You're right, this dragon coffin cultivation world is a huge coffin. The coffin for you. The colossal dragon said in a deep voice. While they were talking, the huge dragon roared, and the dragon coffin world began to tremble. The colossal dragon moved. The power of the dragon god's soul essence was released from his body, and like a bright sun, it floated in the air above the dragon coffin world. Long Fei was slightly shocked as he asked, Giant dragon, what are you trying to do? The colossal dragon looked at Long Fei and said, Kid, you shouldn't be making your conclusion here. Your path is still very long. Long Fei had a bad premonition and shouted, What are you trying to do? What exactly do you want to do? The colossal dragon laughed. I was very happy to be by your side these past few days, and also thank Master for arranging for me to become your guardian. Now my time is up. The ominous premonition grew stronger and stronger. Long Fei said heavily, Giant dragon, don't do anything stupid. The colossal dragon ignored him and said, Brat, listen carefully. I will use my life to bear the pain from your body, but I know that I won't be able to endure much. The pain in your body will still persist. Chapter 2142, The Rise of Black Robe, Destiny God. Chapter 2142, The Rise of Black Robe, Destiny God, the huge dragon, helped Long Fei offset a portion of the damage, restoring Long Fei's consciousness by quite a bit. Thus, the power to activate the system's reward was also the only one-time effect. Power of rebirth. The heaven and earth spun, and Long Fei seemed to sink into a gigantic whirlpool. The colossal dragon's body continued to explode, and the essence of the shining solar dragon slowly dissipated. In the end, he saw the colossal dragon's smiling face. Young master, don't worry about me. This is my reincarnation. Once you enter the universal large world, maybe we will have a chance to meet again. Young master, the Dragon Manor is waiting for your return. This Mu clan is waiting for you, and this ancient world is also waiting for you. Ha ha ha. Laughing wildly. Finally, the entire dragon head exploded, and the shining solar dragon god's soul also disappeared. Long Fei's consciousness closed. He fell into a coma, but his mind was in pain as he said, "I'm sorry." Using one's life in exchange for another, the dragon sacrificed itself for him. Long Fei owed him a life. If he could meet him again in Universal Large World, Long Fei would definitely repay him. Definitely. The intense tremors in the world of darkness ended. The main temple's plain was a mess. The main temple that had stood for millions of years was collapsing. The myriad gods on the surface of the main temple were in an incomparably sorry state, each of them lying on the ground like stray dogs. After the vibration ended, they finally dared to get up from the ground, but all of their faces were extremely ugly to behold. His heart trembled. The force had scared them, and for the first time in thousands of years they were afraid. What kind of power is it? Is this Long Fei's strongest power? Never seen it before. What happened to the main temple? What happened there? Who can tell me? Where's the Son of God? The gods were in a state of panic. In the absence of sovereigns, when the divine sons had perished, the areas under the control of the 100,000 planes had been thrown into chaos. However, this also gave the evil god a chance. Inside the battleground, the evil god seized this opportunity to counterattack and fought crazily for the battleground's territory. He continuously sent reports of victory and chased the main temple's forces to another side. The evil god was exceptionally excited. "Ha ha ha. Good boy. You really are my lucky general. Master, with such a huge energy wave, how do you think Long Fei is doing? Would it open up ancient entry?" The evil god's forehead tightened. After pondering for a moment, he said, "That's impossible." The last bit of energy that exploded outwards. I sensed that it was all of his strength, just like the power of the explosion of a divine spark. I'm afraid. Long Fei no longer exists in this world. Even if the ancient entry were to open it, it would be useless, although the evil god did not see it with his own eyes. However, he was an existence whose cultivation was second only to the sovereign. He could clearly feel that all the profound spirit qi in Long Fei's body had been exhausted. This meant that Long Fei's lifespan was running out, and he would die no matter how strong the energy was channeled into him. Sigh. What a pity. Such a genius has fallen just like that. What a pity. Such a pity. Ha ha ha. Finally, the evil god laughed out loud. And then, with a cold glare, he shouted, "Chase after them now and snatch the battleground away from me. In one go, we will replace the main temple and become the paragons of the 100,000 planes. You will also become the pinnacle of this world, becoming the god of law. Kill them all." Boom, boom, boom. Smoke rose up from all over battleground. In another place, in the darkness of the polar region, Jojo held Long Fei's body, and his tears had already dried. The other person did not leave. Black Robe, Destiny God. When Long Fei released the first sky, he suddenly disappeared. He thought that he would die, but he didn't think that all of his powers would be used on Zhan Wushuang. Zhan Wushuang was also instantly killed, and even a 9-star main artifact also crumbled. The power was like a nightmare. Seeing Jojo holding Long Fei's body, Black Robe Destiny God took off his cape, revealing an incomparably sinister face. Bare head. On the back of his head was a string of red runes, making him look like an alien monster. Ah, ha, ha. Long Fei, you too will have such a day. Ha ha ha. Black Robe, Destiny God, laughed out wildly. Jojo hugged Long Fei tightly, completely unmoved by Black Robe, Destiny God's wild laughter. Black Robe, Destiny God, also did not move forward. He could clearly feel that Long Fei was already dead. Moreover, What he needed to do now was not to destroy Long Fei's corpse. He needed to return to the peak of the world. Energy exploded from his body one after another, enveloping an area of over 10,000 kilometers. Buzz! It was as though a formation had been formed. Then, Black Robe Destiny God's eyes turned sinister as a sharp light shot out from them. With a heavy roar, he said, "The heavens and earth will be filled with all sorts of methods. Go!" Boom, boom, boom. Gigantic bolts of lightning descended from the sky as thick bolts of lightning wreaked havoc on top of Black Robe Destiny God's head. Inside the power formation, the power of the ancient code that hadn't completely disappeared condensed together and was absorbed into the Black Robe Destiny God's body by a powerful force. Boom. Ha ha ha. The law of fate has returned. Boom. The power of the God's Mountain's defense law is back. Boom. The power of the soul controlling is back. Boom, boom, boom. A string of berserk and recovery powers of the ancient code circulated within the Black Robe Destiny God's body. The 123 types of power of the ancient code that had disappeared from Zhan Wushuang's body once again appeared. Half an hour passed. The power of 123 law energies revolved Black Robe Destiny God's body, circulating. Not only that, his face had changed. It had turned into the appearance of Zhan Wushuang. Zhan Wushuang's soul had also been captured by him. Ha ha ha. Flesh, my physical body, a perfect physical body. Ha ha. Black Robe Destiny God laughed crazily again and said, "Zhan Wushuang, you are only my pawn. Ha ha. Right now, everything that you have is mine. I am the king of laws, and I am the new God." Ha ha ha. The Black Robe Destiny God took away everything that Zhan Wushuang had. The world shook. Finally, Black Robe Destiny God looked at the Jojo, who had a deathly still expression and disdainfully sneered. He did not act, because, since Long Fei was already dead, he was no longer important. Now, restore my status. Main temple. I'm here. Black Robe Destiny God turned into a streak of light and disappeared into the horizon. Only Jojo and Long Fei were left in the darkness. Jojo looked at the incomparably pale Long Fei and muttered, "Young master, let me accompany you." Chapter 2143, The New God. Chapter 2143, The New God Main Temple. Boom. A figure walked out from the void. The gods were stunned. Who? They had never seen this person before. Took off his black robe and revealed his face. He laughed coldly. "Gods, long time no see. Who are you? Why do you have such a huge power of law on your body? Who exactly are you?" The gods stared at the floating Black Robe Destiny God. The Black Robe Destiny God laughed coldly and said, "Who I am is not important. What is important is that I will soon be the god of this world." How arrogant! You're courting death. The laws of the earth moved, crushing everything in his path with his earthen energy. At this moment, Black Robe Destiny God's finger lightly moved, and the power of the earth laws similarly moved as well, directly crushing the earth law god on the ground and making him unable to move. It was also the power of the laws of the earth, but the Black Robe Destiny God's power of the laws was much stronger. Suddenly, a few more god of law suddenly walked forward. He was also suppressed by the same law energy, so he wasn't a match for it. The current Destiny God was completely different from the previous Destiny God. The power of the 123 law energies that he controlled was also much stronger than when Zhan Wushuang was controlling it. Even if all the god of laws added up, they were still not his match. Continuous failure. Fear appeared in the eyes of the gods. "You are the son of God." The black-robed destiny god smiled, faintly. I've said it before, who I am is not important. The important thing is that Long Fei died in my hands. So I will become the new sovereign, and all of you must listen to me. Listen to you? A deity was filled with disdain. Who do you think you are? Lord God is about to come back soon. When he comes back, you're going to... Not waiting for him to finish. Black-robed destiny god's eyes twitched. He opened his hand and clenched it. Boom. That deity's body suddenly exploded from being crushed. His divine spark had been shattered. His soul was directly sucked into the black-robed destiny god's body. And he said with a cold smile, "You won't listen to me. This is what happens to you." God of Law was easily killed in an instant. How strong was this? The gods were afraid. Black-robe destiny god said, "Is there anyone else who doesn't want to listen to me?" The gods were silent. Black-robe destiny god laughed wildly and said, "Tell Lord God to come listen." The gods were quiet for half a second. Then a thin voice sounded out, "Lord God, you haven't eaten, right?" Boom! A powerful pressure came crushing down, causing the faces of all the gods to redden as they shouted at the same time, "Lord God!" Ha ha ha! Very good. Black-robe destiny god laughed loudly. This feeling was extremely pleasurable to him. Even in his dreams, he dreamed of becoming a sovereign, becoming the controller of 100,000 planes. Now, he was one step away. At this time, one of the gods asked carefully, "Lord God, you said that Long Fei was killed by you?" Black-robe destiny god smiled slightly. "That's right, he is already dead. He is no longer a threat to Main Temple." Really? All of them were slightly overjoyed. Black-robe destiny god said, "How could I lie to you?" He had seen it with his own eyes, and also personally felt that Long Fei's lifespan was running out. One must know that he was once the controller of the laws of fate, so his understanding of fate was the clearest amongst the 100,000 planes. If Long Fei had not died, he definitely would not have left. Another god asked, "What does Lord God want us to do?" The black-robe destiny god smiled. "It's simple. I want you two to follow me from the ancient entry into the battleground and kill off all of the main temples and evil god palaces' forces. I want to become a true god and become the ruler of the 100,000 planes." This was what he had to do. How strong was God Hong too? Destiny God knew about it tens of millions of years ago, but what about now? Sovereigns had disappeared from the 100,000 planes for millions of years. After having entered the outer reaches, how powerful had he become? Not at all. However, he knew clearly that as long as he could control the battleground, he would become a new sovereign. Even if Hong Tu returned, he wouldn't be able to shake him. With this step, it was useless for anyone to come back. The sovereign hadn't returned. Ancient entry had already been cleared. As long as Black-Robe Destiny God took this step, he would win. The fisherman profited. He was as steady as an old dog, sitting and enjoying everything. The gods were slightly shocked. Enter the ancient entry? Black-Robe Destiny God's gaze darkened as he coldly asked, "What? Don't you want to?" "Willing. We are willing." They were extremely afraid of death. If they didn't want to, the result would be death. Black-Robe Destiny God said, "Don't worry, when I become a true sovereign, you will all receive more than you currently do." "All right. Now, follow me to the extreme darkness, and we will enter the ancient entry together." He was not finished. Suddenly, the hundreds of thousands of planes were shaken, the main temple swayed again. Even the gods could not stand steadily. This was not a huge impact, but the main temple's foundation was shaking. What's going on? What happened? Why is the main temple's plane shaking so badly? Black-Robe Destiny God frowned. His expression suddenly changed. Polar darkness. Crap. The ancient entry was taken first. It's her. The main temple's foundation shook. There was only one possibility for such a thing to happen. The third entrance of the battleground had appeared. In other words, someone from ancient entry seized it first. Black Robe Destiny God also immediately thought of JoJo in the extreme darkness. That's impossible. She's clearly on the verge of death. It's impossible for her to suddenly recover and seize ancient entry. JoJo's heart felt like it was going to die. Black Robe Destiny God did not kill her because she was about to commit suicide. Long Fei's death was too much of a shock to her. But now, Black Robe Destiny God's face sank. The anger in his heart soared to the skies. And he said solemnly, "You're courting death. Ancient entry is mine. No one can take it away from me." Shwa. He suddenly disappeared and turned into a stream of light, shooting into the extreme darkness of the 100,000 planes. Not long after Black Robe Destiny God left, JoJo wanted to die. He died together with Long Fei. But Long Fei suddenly took a deep breath and woke up. JoJo cried tears of joy. Long Fei felt as if he had had a very long dream in which he was reborn. He tried his best to level up, to break through, to level up without caring about anything else. It was as if he had traveled through the gods' martial continent, and then walked once more. When he reached the peak of 100,000 planes, he suddenly woke up. The attributes of his strength, cultivation, and physical defense returned to normal. It was also at this moment that he suddenly realized that the so-called power of rebirth was resurrection. After the revival, the first thing Long Fei did was to enter the black-eyed space on the altar. Inside the ancient entry, Chapter 2144, Opening of the Ancient Entry, Third Autarch. Chapter 2144, Opening of the Ancient Entry, Third Autarch. Remember the pain. Long Fei now thought of one thing: to enter the battleground, overthrow the main temple. He would destroy 100,000 planes, complete his 100,000 interviews and training journey, and then enter the universal large world. On the altar was a black and white primal chaos diagram. What he destroyed was the black eye in white. It was also the black eye space. Is this ancient entry? Long Fei did not know either. Only by going in could he find out. If he made a mistake, it would be rolling his eyes. Young master, I've never seen the runes in this space before. They shouldn't be the words on 100,000 slots. JoJo muttered as he looked at the dense tadpole, like text on both sides of the corridor. Even she could not understand. Long Fei was even more confused. The ancient God Battles polar region is already extraordinary. The mutated demon beast S in the polar regions. The Ming Clan S that descended from the polar plains. The Soul Demon Clan S. And the altars in the darkness. It can be said that no place is normal. Moreover, the feeling that this place gave Long Fei was something left behind by the outer space powerhouse. The Ming Clan elder once said, this 100,000 dimensions were once perfected by the Ming Clan S. Just perfect, was not completely created by the Ming Clan S. And then again, Battleground, it was a very special existence, and it was not controlled by any other powers, nor was it controlled by the main temple. If it was controlled by Hong Tu, why would it let the threat stay by its side? Obviously, Battleground had appeared when the 100,000 planes were first formed. It was used to restrict the existence of the strongest power in the 100,000 planes, the main temple. No matter who it was that became a sovereign, it could not cover the sky with one hand. As long as one entered the battleground, they could change everything. It was also because of the existence of the battleground. The entrance to the hegemony was the most important thing. No one wanted the entrance to exist. JoJo was startled for a moment and said, "Are you saying that these are the foreign language? Then, could this passage lead to an outside world? and not to the battleground. Long Fei stopped and thought for a few seconds, then said, "That's possible. The ancient alien protects this entrance. And it's also possible that this is an entrance that isn't allowed to enter by the 100,000 plane powerhouse S." Long Fei thought of a pair of black and white, and thought to himself, "The black and white eyes will each lead to a different place. I just don't know which direction will lead to battleground." The two continued their journey. The corridor was dark and gradually descended. Long Fei and Jojo walked for 4 hours before the narrow corridor finally grew big. A circular plaza was right in front of Long Fei, and a door pasted onto the seal was right in front of them. "Be careful," Long Fei reminded as he slowly walked forward. There was also a huge 8-trigram diagram on the plaza. It was similar to the diagram on the altar, but the runes engraved on it were more concentrated. The power within the runes gave Long Fei a stronger feeling. Adding the seal S on the stone door, Long Fei felt that this 8-trigrams diagram seemed to be protecting something. What was behind the stone door? Passing through the plaza and not encountering anything along the way, Long Fei and Jojo arrived in front of the stone door. "Those who enter will die." There were 4 big words carved on top of the stone door. Jojo said slightly, "Young master, there's something wrong with the aura behind the stone door." Long Fei also felt it. It was just like opening a stone door, in which a prehistoric beast would rush out and become unstoppable. However, since he had already reached this step, Long Fei had no other choice. Even if this place didn't lead to battleground, Long Fei could only go and slap his eyes again. "Stand back," Long Fei warned her. Jojo did not move and said, "I don't want it." She didn't want to see Long Fei become like that again, and didn't want to carry that ice-cold corpse of his anymore. Even if she had to die for Long Fei. After Long Fei woke up, he didn't say a single word about what had happened. Jojo did not ask either, but she felt that Long Fei must have experienced something to become this cold, something that even she felt. "Who?" Long Fei exhaled, walked to the seal on the door, and said softly, "No matter what is behind this, no one wants my life." While they were talking, boom, Long Fei threw a punch. The stone door remained unmoved. There was not even a single scar left, and Long Fei's strength did not cause the slightest bit of injury. Long Fei was startled. "Seal defense? That depends on how strong you are." Long Fei waved his right hand. The blade of Main God dropped down and slashed forward with his blade. At this moment, when the blade of Main God touched the stone door, it seemed to have a huge suction force that directly sucked out the blade of Main God. Long Fei was caught off guard. The blade of Main God sucked on the stone door. Buzz, buzz. When the blade of Main God entered the stone door, many of the seal runes on the stone door disappeared. Devouring main artifact. Long Fei's heart sank. "Damn it, this is my fault." Another punch. It was useless again. Jojo slightly said, "Young master, does that mean that only the power of Main God can be unlocked? Do you want to try using my sword?" Jojo said as he walked forward, and then threw the sword he had brought out from the Ming clan's hidden weapon pavilion. Clang! There was no reaction at all. The seal on the stone door completely ignored it. Jojo picked up the sword and said, "Young master, it seems that it is only interested in the main artifact." Long Fei frowned. He was secretly complaining in his heart, "Can you not be so ruthless? I only have 2 main artifact." Sigh. Why didn't the God Shield drop it? Long Fei was very frustrated. After summoning his Dong Huang clock and refining 20 of them into main artifact S, he had a faint feeling that they had something to do with the ancient entry. It was true. When the Dong Huang clock was taken out, it was completely beyond Long Fei's control, and it was directly sucked in. The stone door twisted. Like mercury, the Dong Huang clock was slowly swallowed. The runes on the stone door started to disappear one by one, but the 4 big words those who enter the door will die were still there. Half a minute later, the runes on the stone door completely disappeared, the seal disappeared, and it turned into a normal stone door in a flash. He just needed to gently push it away. Jojo walked forward and said, "Young master, let me do it." Without waiting for her to walk forward, Long Fei pulled her close and hugged her tightly. He whispered in her ear, "If anything happens to me, all of you should leave the primordial divine war dimension and find a way to go to my father's place." Finished. Pulling Jojo, Long Fei suddenly pushed open the stone door and walked in. The stone door opened. A strong light burst out from the gap. Long Fei's figure did not disappear. Jojo cried out in alarm, "Young master!" At the same time, Long Fei, who was behind the stone door, was accustomed to the strong light. As he looked inside, the corner of his mouth slightly raised up, and he excitedly laughed. "It's here!" Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for clearing ancient entry. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining ancient entry. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for becoming the master of ancient entry and becoming the 3rd hegemon of the 100,000 planes. Ding! Thank you for your support. Chapter 2145. Overturning the World. Chapter 2145. Overturning the world, the system beeped crazily. It was all about the ancient entry. After the numerous system beep were finished, Long Fei could clearly feel that there was a power within his body, and that this power was like a door that can be summoned at will. The main gate of the ancient entry. Long Fei stood within a mountain deep in the battleground plain, felt the aura of the battleground plain, and lightly said, "I'm finally here, battleground," a place that defied the will of the heavens. To overthrow the control of 100,000 planes, the only way to overthrow the main temple was to dominate them. This was the only way to do it. Jojo also walked in the door and stood behind Long Fei. Looking at Long Fei's back, her heart was incomparably moved. From the moment he entered the gods' martial continent, Long Fei wanted to get rid of all restraints and not let anything go. When his power reached such a level, the appearance of the gods general and the forceful suppression of the chaos realm, along with the appearance of the shadow of main god, made him feel extremely unhappy. He wanted to control over the 100,000 dimensions in his own hands. He wanted to make sure that the people around him were never controlled by anything. Life force is also good. Be it strength or strength, everything had to be limitless. Now, Long Fei was just one step away from all of this. Dominating. After a long time, Jojo asked, "Young master, what should we do next?" Although he had cleared the ancient entry and seized the rights to the 3rd entrance, Long Fei had also become the 3rd overlord of the battleground. However, whether it was the main temple or the evil god palace, both were extremely powerful and could easily suppress the existence of Long Fei. If he wanted to gain a foothold in the battleground, Long Fei still had a lot of ways to go. Not only that, be it the main temple's power or the evil god palace's power, they would definitely not allow Long Fei to grow. Absolutely not. Also, when the 3rd entrance of the battleground was opened, the 100,000 dimensional realm powerhouse looked even more covetously at him. Everyone wanted to become the overlord of the 3rd entrance, the evil god, and the others couldn't deal with it. There was even less of a need to talk about sovereigns, but they would never let go of the newly promoted overlord Long Fei. Whoever could kill Long Fei could become the overlord of the 3rd entrance. They could even lead their clansmen into the battleground and control 100,000 planes. It was not impossible. Cultivating for what reason? To put it bluntly, this was a point fighting for supremacy, becoming the ruler of the world, immortal and immortal. The third entrance was open, and Long Fei was pushed to the heart of the struggle. Everyone in the 100,000 dimensional realm wanted his life. Long Fei looked into the distance and said indifferently, "Return to Devil Island, look for Brother Chi." Then, to overturn this world. Finished. Long Fei turned and walked out of the stone door, with Jojo following behind him. After he walked out of the stone door disappeared. Now, Long Fei could summon an ancient entry anywhere, just like the entrance that the evil god used to call out. The instant the stone door closed, the 100,000 planes all began to tremble violently. The sounds of thunder from the 9 heavens resounded through the air like the roars of a monster. Roar, roar, roar. Mad. The 100,000 planes were also in an uproar. The third entrance has been broken through. The ancient entry has been broken through. In 10 million years, the third entrance has appeared. Seems like the third force has appeared in Battleground. This is going to be fun. Ha ha. Main Temple was in a panic. His foundation began to shake even more violently. Impossible. Didn't he say that Long Fei is already dead? How could the ancient entry be broken through? It's impossible. Who is it? Evil God Palace. The evil god's face was also filled with shock. He had clearly felt Long Fei's death. But why did the ancient entry still get opened up? The space between his eyebrows was locked. If he wanted to fight Long Fei in the battleground, his heart would have sunk a little. Immediately, the evil god immediately shouted. Men immediately investigate who opened the third entrance and find out where it was born. Each entrance has a specific location. The battleground was not big, so finding a specific location wasn't difficult. Once found, they could be prepared in advance. A war general flew out. The evil god's eyes were sinister as he said, "Send someone to the main temple to ask them if they want to join hands." All the generals in the hall were slightly shocked. A general asked, "Sir, a newly advanced overlord should not be a threat at all. Why are you allying with main temple?" "That's right. What can Long Fei do? This is the battleground. If he dares to enter, his power will be restricted as well. I don't care how strong he is outside, but here, humph, it's not his place to do whatever he wants." You're right. Victory does not mean anything. Moreover, he was cheating in the previous battle. He won the battle by scheming. The other generals were puzzled. They did not care about a mere Long Fei. You have to understand that this is the battleground, and there is a certain type of restriction placed on this place by some kind of strong power. No matter how strong you are, you won't be able to unleash your power. Everyone only had a few cultivation techniques and skills. What could he do? Then again, they had been in the battleground for thousands of years, and over the course of 10,000 years, 2146, they had become familiar with every nook and cranny of the battleground. You bastard! The voice was filled with immense power. The pressure of the law also exploded. Jojo's body moved, and he almost couldn't withstand it anymore. His face flushed red, and his breathing became hurried. Long Fei raised his eyes and supported Jojo. Immediately, the pressure on Jojo's mind immediately disappeared. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang, and a black figure landed on the ground. The entire extreme earth began to tremble violently. His eyes turned sinister as he stared at Long Fei, his hatred soaring to the skies, and said, "Long Fei, you're not dead yet." Black Robe, Destiny God. Long Fei looked at him, her eyes trembling slightly. Golden light flashed around the Black Robe. "The golden light of a boss," Jojo said. "After you fainted, he absorbed all of the power of Zhan Wushuang's body. He now controls 123 types of power of laws. And stronger than Zhan Wushuang. Long Fei squinted his eyes and laughed. Destiny God, why don't you know to cherish your fate when you control it? In Chaos Realm, you almost died, and in Devil Island, only your soul remained. Now that your body has been reconstituted and you have recovered your strength, why don't you understand and cherish it? He's even running to his death. Every single thing that Long Fei said was a sore spot in Destiny God's heart. Anger raged. Destiny God bellowed, Long Fei, if you don't die, I won't rest. You were clearly dead just now. Why are you still alive? Since you've died again, I'll grant your wish. 123 law energies. Rumble. When Long Fei was still alive, the Destiny God was filled with rage. He had to kill Long Fei. If it wasn't for Long Fei, how did he become such a ghost? Like a stray dog. If it was said that Long Fei was the inner demon of Zhan Wushuang, then Long Fei was also his Destiny God's nightmare. The 123 ancient laws, like giant chains of laws, wildly exploded out from Destiny God's back, directly rushing towards Long Fei. Very powerful. It was much stronger than when Zhan Wushuang was controlling the power of 123 laws. Long Fei, however, was not afraid, seeing the power of 123 law energies pouncing towards him. Long Fei moved his idea. Power of the shadows. Boom. The dragon-shaped mark moved. A black light shot out. He directly pounced towards Destiny God. Destiny God smirked and said coldly, the power of the shadows, Zero Seal, right? Come on. Destiny God stood still and didn't move at all. Long Fei felt that something was wrong. Since the Destiny God knows about the Zero Seal, then he should know about the power of the Zero Seal. At this moment, Long Fei also quickly rushed forward, his fist sinking, blasting fist. If his power of darkness was sealed to Destiny God, then this move of his blasting fist would be able to instantly kill Destiny God. Humph. When he killed the Golden Light large alien, Long Fei had used too much of his own blood essence, to the point that, in the end, he had the colossal dragon exchange its life for his own. This was the pain in Long Fei's heart. He would not allow such a thing to happen again. Ming Clan mark. Dark blade. His body moved, and the power of the Ming Clan imprint on his left arm started to surge out. He used his hand as a blade. Buzz. Long Fei's left arm ignited, forming a black flame. Raising his eyes and staring at the soul in midair, his figure shot into the sky. It disappeared. Destiny God's expression changed. What kind of power? He had seen this power in the God's Mountain before, but he thought that this power also needed to be activated using his holy power value. There was no need at all. In the void, Long Fei's voice sounded, the power that will take your life. It tore through the skies. He appeared in front of the Destiny God's spirit body. The Destiny God was shocked. Her hands quickly formed a seal. Law Guardian. Too late. Break for me. The saber slashed down. The power of the Ming Clan's mark shot out, directly splitting the spirit body of the Destiny God into two. Destiny God released waves of ferocious screams. Ah, ah, ah. The power of law within his body crazily surged out, completely out of his control. Can't we kill you this time? Long Fei growled. You bastard, explode. Chapter 2147. The Sovereign has returned. Chapter 2147. The Sovereign has returned. You won't die this time? F***CK. Long Fei roared. The Destiny God wanted to kill Long Fei. However, in Long Fei's heart, wasn't it too? If it were not for Destiny God, how could he have stirred up so much trouble? Zhan Wushuang was long dead. If it wasn't for Destiny God, the giant dragon wouldn't even need to trade his life for it. Everything was because of him. Thus, when Long Fei released his power of darkness, He had already thought of everything. Even if he had to use his blood essence to activate the power of the dragon-shaped mark, he wouldn't hesitate. He wanted to kill Destiny God. It was to kill. Long Fei. Long Fei, I won't forgive you even if I become a ghost. Absolutely not. Rumble. An explosion sounded in the air. The gash on the Destiny God's spirit body had reached the bottom, and his body was also frantically rupturing. Ding. The system beep rang. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Destiny God, for obtaining 1 billion experience, 1 billion holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Defense Law's power. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Soul Controlling's power. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Law of Fate. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Laws of the Earth. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. The system beep crazily exploded. It lasted for an entire 3 minutes before it stopped. 123 law energies all exploded outwards. The most surprising thing was all of these powers of the ancient code were at their peak strength. There was simply no need for Long Fei to cultivate anymore. They were all at their peak strength in the highest realm. This was because Destiny God's control over them was different from Zhan Wushuang's. Cultivate. Cultivate. All of you train. Long Fei moved and cultivated all 123 different types of power of the ancient code. A moment later, there was a stream of light coiling around his body, constantly coiling around him, just like the 2 rays of light inside the heavenly phoenix demonic armor of the legend of hot blood revolving around his body. It was an incomparably cool scene. Adding on the time laws, killing principle, sky principle, magic rule, storm, and ice laws, I now possess 129 law energies. Now, I should be the king of law, right? Long Fei muttered to himself. The power of 129 Tao principles could be said to be the king of law. However, Long Fei was not satisfied. He wanted to completely control the power of the laws of the 100,000 planes. Moreover, the 129 laws seemed powerful, but they all had one thing in common. They were all under the control of a sovereign. Even if it was the killing principle that Night King had comprehended, even if it was the time laws left behind by Long Fei's mother and the magic rule, the power of these law energies were all located in the 100,000 dimensions. It was also under the control of a sovereign. The true king of law does not possess many different laws, but one that can be easily used or retracted. Only such a person would be a king of law. If I can fuse the power of these laws together to form the laws of an outer region, then that would be amazing. Long Fei slightly said. He knew in his heart. He wanted to enter the battleground, and he wanted to face the sovereign king. This law energy, which he trained in, was completely useless to sovereigns. If he wanted to kill a sovereign, he would have to acquire even more power. Otherwise, when the time came, he would use the power of the ancient inheritance S among the dragon-shaped Mark S. Even if he killed a sovereign, he wouldn't be able to protect his own life. Destiny God's death. The main temple was shocked beyond belief again. However, this also made Main Temple, who had initially refused to form an alliance with the Evil God Palace, agree to the Evil God's alliance request. The sovereign wasn't here to deal with Long Fei. He had to form an alliance to protect the territory of the battleground. Kill Long Fei first. In another place, in the infernal realm, Destiny God. Before he could stand up in hell, a huge shadow appeared in the sky above him. The shadow looked at him coldly, and said, "I heard that you won't forgive my son even if you become a ghost, right?" Destiny God's face sank and immediately knelt on the ground. "No, no, don't kill me, don't kill me. I'm already dead, and I won't be able to harm Long Fei anymore. Don't. He had never dreamed of it. Long Fei's father was the king of hell. He had just died, and didn't have the time to react when Long Zhanting's appearance scared his *T out of him. Long Zhanting said coldly, "You can't do anything even if you can't do any damage. You don't even have to do it like a ghost." Boom! A bolt of purple lightning struck down. Destiny God's ghost turned into a wisp of green smoke and completely disappeared. Not even ghosts. Long Zhanting raised his head to look at the chaos in the sky and muttered, "Fair, your 100,000 interview battles are about to end. Before it ends, your great calamity is also, child, you have to hold on. The calamity of the prophecy, always." Although Long Zhanting, who was somewhere else, had been helping Long Fei this entire time, wanting him to avoid this calamity. But irreversible. There was no way to dodge it. This was what they were most worried about, because this was a calamity that he might not be able to withstand. It was also the sign that the 100,000 people who failed the interview would be able to pass. If he couldn't pass it, Long Fei will die. Huff! Long Zhanting let out a light breath. Those old fellows from the Dragon Manor. If anything happens to my son, I will never let it go. Long Zhanting's eyes turned sinister, filled with an extremely sharp killing intent. And then the shadow disappeared. The infernal realm returned to calm. Soul-controlling. Long Fei released a bit of his power as he sensed the countless souls in the 100,000 dimensions, and at the same time, he also felt the souls of those imprisoned under the God's Mountain. Luo Shi, 1,000, grandfather, dragon ancestor, all of them had been sensed. Then, Long Fei said, "Jojo, let's make a trip to God's Mountain first." Jojo was slightly moved and said, "Young master, did you save big sister Luo Shi and the rest?" Long Fei nodded and said worriedly, "I wonder if releasing their souls would be able to reconstruct their bodies." Jojo said excitedly, "It's definitely possible." In another place, the void twisted. The sky above the main temple opened up to reveal a door to space and time. A figure slowly walked out. It wasn't fast. However, no one in 100,000 planes was able to reach this level of speed. Next, the 100,000 planes began to tremble violently. In the great hall of the main temple, the gods kneel on the ground, not daring to move, because the sovereign had returned. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2148. My name is Tang, Renjia. Chapter 2148. My name is Tang, Renjia. The 100,000 planes trembled nonstop. God Hong too looked at the collapsed main temple and heaved a deep sigh. Zhang Xian narrowed his eyes. A sharp and cold glint flashed in his eyes as he coldly spat out 2 words, "Long Fei." Then, a burst of power burst out from Hong Tu's body. This power was like light that sprinkled down, enveloping 100,000 planes. The shaking in the plane of the main temple disappeared. The shock wave from the ancient god battle disappeared, and the light continued to spread. In the end, the shaking 100,000 planes began to stabilize. This was a power to restore 100,000 planes to normal. This showed how powerful the power of main god was. All the gods knelt on the ground, not daring to raise their heads. After a long time, one of the deities dared to look up, only to see that the sovereign had disappeared. The sovereign has returned. Long Fei, it's time for your death. Where did the Lord God go? Needless to say, who could cause 100,000 planes to become like this? Long Fei. Lord God must have gone to look for that brat Long Fei. Long Fei, just you wait. All the gods in the shrine became excited. With the disappearance of the sovereign, it was clear that he had gone to find Long Fei, who would also die very soon. Sovereigns, the chief sovereigns of the 100,000 plains, the most powerful powerhouse. Furthermore, no one knew how powerful he had become, but what was certain was that in the 100,000 plains, no one was a match for him, including Long Fei. Beneath God's mountain's feet, Long Fei stopped and looked into the sky. Sensing the power of the light released by the sovereign, he said faintly, "What a powerful aura!" Jojo was startled and immediately said, "Young master, Sovereign Hong Tu is back." Huh. Sovereign. Long Fei was also secretly surprised. If not for Jojo mentioning him, Long Fei would have forgotten about this shadow of main god that was killed by the heavenly emperor that he summoned. He was secretly excited. The final boss of the 100,000 plains is about to appear. There was no fear in Long Fei's eyes, but instead an indescribable excitement. A game. If you kill the ultimate boss, then this game will be destroyed. A sovereign had appeared. Kill. 100,000 planes would be destroyed by Long Fei, and then they would be able to pass through, allowing them to enter the universal large world. Right now, Long Fei was not interested in the 100,000 planes. The appearance of the ancient inheritance, the appearance of the Ming clan, the background strength of his clan's dragon manor, and the Mu clan meant that Long Fei was very interested in the location of his mother. He was the center of this game. He wanted to see what kind of game it was, and also wanted to know who was the one who was going to deal with the Dragon Manor and Mu clan. Who was the one who was going to put him to death? All of these could only be solved after Long Fei entered the universal world. Thus, Long Fei was very excited by the appearance of the ultimate boss. Jojo said, "Young master, are you not worried at all?" Long Fei laughed and said, "What are you worried about? When the boss comes, of course, we will have to deal with it. It's useless to worry about that." Jojo also smiled, thinking about what happened to Long Fei in the extreme darkness. He could not help but ask, "Young master, can you promise me one thing?" Long Fei said, "Go ahead." Jojo said, "You have to promise me first." Looking at Jojo's serious expression, Long Fei lightly scratched her nose and said, "Okay, I promise you. No matter what you say, I will agree." Jojo's face reddened. She did not avoid Long Fei's hand as she lightly stroked the bridge of her nose and muttered, "Young master, I'm no longer a child." Long Fei glanced at Jojo's chest and laughed. It has become bigger. He hadn't looked at it seriously in the past, but now that he looked at it carefully, he could see that Jojo was slim and elegant. Of course, Jojo was the first woman that Long Fei had ever seen when he came to this world. With a single glance, he knew that she would be extremely beautiful in the future. Jojo looked at the eyes of Long Fei staring at his chest, his face reddening even more as he said, "Young master." Long Fei smiled and said, all right, let's stop this. Speak." Jojo said seriously, "I want you to promise me that you are not to use the power of your blood essence in the future. Although I do not know what kind of power your blood essence contains, young master, please do not use it anymore, okay?" Jojo is really worried. She was really afraid that Long Fei would not be able to breathe in her arms again. Long Fei looked at Jojo, whose eyes were filled with tears, and gently pulled her into his embrace. Cough, cough. At this moment, leaning on a big tree at the side of the passage to God's mountain was a young man. He looked to be around 20 years old. He was carrying a sword on his back. Beside him was a dog that always had the appearance of a husky. It was unknown whether it was a wolf or a dog, but judging from its appearance, it should be a dog. The man coughed. It was only then that Long Fei noticed him, his heart trembling slightly as he thought to himself, When did he appear? Why haven't I noticed him? Right now, Long Fei's cultivation was already terrifying enough. Aside from the sovereign, other than the evil god, his level had already reached peak realm. The power of the ancient code surrounded him from the left and right, so no aura could escape from his senses. But Long Fei did not sense the young man's aura. Very strange. Jojo's body also trembled, and he immediately came out of Long Fei's embrace, his expression returning to normal. Long Fei looked at the man and asked, "People from the God's Mountain?" When the man saw Long Fei looking at him, he immediately revealed a smile. He walked up with a smile and extended his right hand, saying, "Hee, this is the first time we're meeting. I'll introduce myself first. This is my mount, Chinatown." Long Fei looked at the man and said, "This name—" Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Tang Renjia immediately said, "All right, I came up with the name myself. All right?" "Ha ha. Good. Long Fei laughed, but was secretly on guard in his heart. This is the God's Mountain. It was the place where Zhan Wushuang's master had once cultivated. No matter who this man was, he had to keep his distance and stay vigilant. Tang Renjia acted as if he did not sense Long Fei's intention to keep a distance and wanted to hold Long Fei's hand, but he also failed to do so. He was not embarrassed either, as he said, "I am not someone from God's Mountain. I know your name. Your name is Long Fei. You are very powerful. About that, I want to be your little brother." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei and Jojo had already walked more than 10 meters away and had no intention of paying attention to Tang Renjia at all. Tang Renjia chased in a hurry and asked, "Boss Long, do you accept me?" Long Fei shook his head and said, "No. Take it. You have so many brothers. So what's wrong with taking me in? Take me in, okay?" Tang Renjia said with an awkward expression, as if he was saying that he wouldn't accept him. Long Fei continued to shake his head. "No. This is your last chance. This is your last chance." A person who was willing to be a lackey had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, the first feeling this person gave Long Fei was, it was a little mysterious. The second feeling was too strong. The third feeling was still too strong. However, as for the purpose of this person named Tang Renjia, Long Fei did not know. Long Fei was now the #1 wanted criminal in Main Temple after he killed Zhan Wushuang. The Main Temple had even raised his bounty to an unprecedented level. Who knew if this guy was here to kill him? "Tang Renjia, my cultivation is very strong." Long Fei, "Not interested." "Tang Renjia, I can cook, learn alchemy, and even forge artifacts. I can fight 100 of them all by myself. Long Fei, "Not interested." "Tang Renjia, Boss Long, please give me some face. No matter what, I am a descendant of the Tang dynasty's king." Long Fei, "I don't." "Tang Renjia." He kept following behind Long Fei, pestering him the entire way. However, Long Fei did not accept it. The three of them walked all the way to the summit of God's Mountain. Long Fei sensed for a bit, then asked slightly, "Is there anyone here?" Tang Renjia immediately jumped forward and said, "Everyone here has long since left. There's not a single person in God's Mountain. Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for someone of the first class." "That's not right. My mount is looking for a first-rate rider." Speaking of his mount, Long Fei glanced at it. Jojo said in disdain, "That's called a mount. I think you are its mount." Along the way, Tang Renjia carried the husky on his shoulder. Just as Jojo had said, he should be the dog's mount. It was very strange. Tang Renjia scratched his head. My mount is not used to the environment here. It's a little sick. It'll be fine once he gets used to it." How could a mount not submit to the elements? Isn't this too ridiculous? Long Fei didn't pay any attention to him and said, "I'm not looking for anyone." His soul-controlling moved slightly. Buzz. A light sound came from the sky and engulfed the entire God's mountain. Long Fei frowned slightly. It clearly has a lot of souls. Why can't I sense their position? Long Fei could feel a large wave of soul. They were somewhere in the God's mountain, but he couldn't sense their specific location. Very strange. It should be a protective barrier that was able to block everything in its path. Tang Renjia looked at the crease between Long Fei's brows and immediately said with a laugh, "Boss Long, do you need any help?" Looking at his anxious expression, he casually said, "Can you sense that place in God's mountain has a large number of souls?" Tang Renjia was ecstatic and immediately said, "If I can find it, can you accept me as your little brother?" Long Fei said, "Let's find him first." Long Fei did not hold any hope for him and had only asked him to rest for a while. If he could not even sense the exact position when he controlled the soul-controlling, it was even more impossible for Tang Renjia to sense it. However, not waiting for 10 seconds, Tang Renjia said, "Below the Great Hall, in a secret room, there is a protective barrier over this room." Huh. Long Fei was in disbelief. Tang Renjia replied, "Boss Long, I'll bring you there." As he spoke, he strode towards the God of Heaven palace. Long Fei reminded Jojo, "Be careful." And then Long Fei followed him. Indeed, just as Tang Renjia had said, there was a huge secret room at the bottom of the hall. The secret room was the cultivation room, and it should be Zhan Wushuang's training room. There was a huge cage on the other side of the room. There was a barrier over the cage. There were hundreds of millions of souls flowing within the cage. They were like a spirit body, and some of them were even incomparably familiar to Long Fei. These should be the souls of the Long family. Long Fei became anxious and clenched his fists tightly. These souls were extracted from the chaos realm. Even though the destiny god was being killed, the anger in Long Fei's heart was still bubbling. Tang Renjia immediately asked, "Boss Long, do you want to remove this barrier?" At this moment, rumble! The sky suddenly sank, and an incomparable pressure seemed to collapse from the sky, directly enveloping the entire God's mountain and becoming incomparably powerful. Puchi! Jojo's body sank, her face became pale, and she was unable to take it. If not for Long Fei's quick support, she would have already knelt on the ground. Long Fei endured it. However, his face also turned slightly pale. He couldn't even withstand the impact of the powerful force that struck his mind and spirit. "Sovereign!" Long Fei clenched his teeth and shouted. In the entire 100,000 planes, only sovereigns were able to unleash such a powerful aura. Then, Long Fei stared at the dumbstruck Tang Renjia and said, "You want to be my little brother? Protect her." As soon as he finished, Long Fei rose from the ground, rushed out of the secret basement, and directly broke through the ground and flew into the air. Tang Renjia reacted and immediately said, "Understood." And then he whispered to himself, "I should be protecting you." Long Fei, the one who came, was none other than Sovereign Hong Tuesday. An enormous silhouette floated in midair. His figure was like a layer of sky, enveloping the entire God's mountain. A boundless aura of a sovereign. Pressure. Within a radius of millions of km, it was completely silent. Even the wind wouldn't be able to blow in. This was the first time Long Fei had felt such a strong power. Long Fei broke through the surface of the ground and flew into the air, looking at the sky filled with golden light, as if the entire world was made of gold. F*CK, the final boss is the final boss. Long Fei had seen many bosses. However, he had never seen a boss with such a dazzling golden glow. The final boss wasn't an ordinary boss. Long Fei grinned excitedly and said, "What do you want Grandpa to do?" "Arrogant." The sovereign stared at him. Boom. Thunder rumbled, and the pressure was like a beam of light that bombarded downwards. The center of Long Fei's brows tightened, and all of a sudden, the power of 129 law energies surged out of his body and blocked the attack. Rumble! 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 As the two forces clashed, the explosive force from the explosion wreaked havoc in the surroundings. The space between God's eyebrows tightened as he said faintly, "I didn't think that you would actually control more than 120 types of power of laws. Long Fei, I have really underestimated you." "No wonder." Long Fei laughed and said, "No wonder what?" The sovereign said, "No wonder so many people from the other realms are keeping an eye on you. Foreign lands, universal large world." Long Fei's heart trembled. The god laughed. "Not bad. You also know that universal large world is right. Universal large world does have quite a few people who are paying attention to you. However, with just these 129 laws here, you're nothing but a piece of trash in front of me." The sovereign only knew that Long Fei's background was not simple. He did not know that Long Fei had the power of the ancient inheritance. The god stared at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, I will give you one last chance. Submit to me. Consider carefully. This is your last chance." Chapter 2150, Outer Space Powerhouse. Chapter 2150, Outer Space Powerhouse. Long Fei's background was complex and powerful. If he were to offend such a person, it would not be good for Hong Tuesday. Moreover, he had promised others that he would bring Long Fei into the universal large world alive. Thus, he did not want to kill Long Fei. Hong Tu said blandly, "As long as you submit to me, I will bring you into the outer realm, and I will even allow you to control 100,000 planes." "How is it?" Long Fei grinned. "There's no need to think about it." Hong Tu laughed. "Indeed, there is no need to consider it further. In the 100,000 planes, no one would reject such a condition, and no one would dare to reject me. Ha ha ha. Only a fool would refuse. Only fools would go against the strongest experts of the 100,000 planes. Last time when he gave Long Fei a choice, Long Fei did not compromise. That was because last time he was only a shadow of main god. This time, the sovereign had personally come. Who dared to refuse? Ha ha ha. Long Fei also laughed out loud and said, "I will reject it. And if you, this ultimate boss, don't take it out, how can I leave?" In that instant, the aura within a 1,000,000 km radius suddenly became extremely dark and cold. The ancient fire soul in Long Fei's body also suddenly started to circulate. The sovereign's gaze darkened. Staring straight at Long Fei, who was like an ant in his eyes, he coldly asked, "What are you talking about?" "Long Fei, don't refuse a toast to my wine. What you've done is enough to kill you 100 times over. Don't think that just because you've grasped a bit of the power of the laws, you can do whatever you want in front of me. To me, your power of the laws is nothing more than thin paper, not even worth a single blow." Hong Tu's voice was filled with anger. He was very unhappy to be rejected. Moreover, what Long Fei had said made him even more unhappy. Long Fei grinned. "Was what I said not clear enough? I don't need anyone to give me what I want. I will take it myself. Whoever dares to stop me will die the same way. God is the same as you. In addition," Long Fei laughed excitedly, "I want to kill this big boss. He, very arrogant. So what if he was a sovereign? So what if he was a chief sovereign of 100,000 planes? It was the same. Since he was unhappy, he might as well do it." The sovereign's eyes were filled with rage. His enormous eyes bulged out as he growled, "You are courting death!" Rumble! Rumble! The air rumbled, and endless sounds of explosions rang out. The entire God's mountain seemed as though it was about to be shattered into pieces as an endless pressure came crushing down from above. The pressure of a sovereign. This kind of pressure was filled with boundless killing intent. It completely crushed Long Fei. Long Fei's entire body was in incomparable discomfort. His power of law was like a mouse that had seen a cat, and he didn't dare to raise his head. Unhappy, very unhappy, Hong Tu shouted, "Long Fei, who do you think you are? Fight with me. You must have the qualifications to fight me. You killed a few God of Law-s and control a few of the power of law, and you think you're invincible? Humph, you overestimating yourself. If it wasn't for someone from the other realms wanting you to live, do you think you could still be standing and talking to me?" Hong Tu said, heavily. He was the ruler of 100,000 planes. He was the king. Who would dare to disobey? His aura of suppression and power crushed down. Although he had long prepared in his heart, he never thought that the power of the ancient code would actually be useless in front of a sovereign. He didn't think that it would even be of use to a god. However, no matter what kind of powerhouse Long Fei faced, he would not cower. Facing the pressure from Hong Tu's sovereign powers, Long Fei's thoughts moved. Blood essence, Ming Clan's imprint. Invincible state. The idea moved. He couldn't care less at this time. God Hong Tu's forehead tightened. "You still want to resist?" "Humph. Kneel." The endless sea of sovereigns moved, and the skies above them sank as they struck out with heavy blows. "Kneel before your ancestors." Long Fei roared out and released the blood essence. At this moment, at the door of the God of Heaven Hall, Tang Renjia brought Jojo and walked out. Watching the forces in the sky collide, it was like a battle between gods. He said softly, "Boss Long, what happened? Do you need help?" As soon as the voice was heard, suddenly the look in God Hong Tu's eyes went away, and he was slightly shocked in his heart. He was the same as Long Fei. He could only sense Jojo's aura, but not Tang Renjia's aura. Moreover, as soon as Tang Renjia finished speaking, the pressure on his sovereigns might seem to have received a shock wave like never before, and instantly disappeared into the distance of 1,000,000 kilometers. The pressure of the sovereigns might suddenly disappeared. Long Fei was also startled, but he didn't have time to think about it too much. He shouted, "Protect Jojo well." The sovereign was stunned as well. He didn't think too much either. He was the paragon of 100,000 planes. Who could fight against him? In an instant, the sovereign moved, and the immense pressure came crushing down once again. He shouted heavily, "Long Fei, kneel down obediently." The massive sovereign power once more struck out. Even the god's mountain was trembling. Countless mountain peaks crumbled, and the solid rocks were turned into dust. It was as if the world had come to an end. Just when it was about to crush onto Long Fei, Tang Renjia once again scratched his head and shouted, "Boss Long, do you really not need help? I'm your little brother. You don't even need me for free." Buzz. As soon as his voice faded, the might and pressure released by Hong Tu once again vanished, completely disappearing. Hong Tu was secretly shocked in his heart. Long Fei yelled out and said, "What are you yelling for?" "I told you to protect Jojo, so you should protect Jojo." Long Fei was about to get angry. Tang Renjia smiled innocently and said, all right, I understand." The sovereign Hong Tu released yet another wave of powerful energy. Long Fei prepared everything. But in that moment, Husky, who was riding on Tang Renjia's shoulder, suddenly opened his eyes and glared at her. Sovereign Hong Tu's heart suddenly trembled. "Who? In that instant, Hong Tu's mind seemed to have been crushed by a wave of energy. It was incomparably uncomfortable. Outer space powerhouse. Hong Tu quickly withdrew his strength and stared at Long Fei. He then looked at Tang Renjia, who had an expression of helplessness, and then looked at the husky, who had a face of soil and water on his shoulder. He could not find the source of this power. However, one thing was certain. Someone was helping Long Fei from the shadows, and this person was extremely strong. And then again, this person must be outer space powerhouse. Hong Tu's mind secretly tensed up. What is outer space powerhouse doing here? Then, Hong Tu looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, we shall see inside the battleground. His figure moved. It vanished in an instant. Long Fei had a stupefied face. He simply did not know what had happened. What the F asterisk asterisk K. What the F asterisk asterisk K. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2151, The Omnipotent Tang, Renjia. Chapter 2151, The Omnipotent Tang, Renjia. Main Temple. Hong Tu frowned, looking somewhat miserable. Inside the hall, the gods were also confused. Logically speaking, whomever the sovereigns wanted to die in the 100,000 planes would have to die. He had clearly gone to look for Long Fei just now. Why did he come back before he died? Atop the sovereign's throne, Hong Tu held his head up, his eyes staring at a certain place, his heart asking himself, who exactly is it? Outer space powerhouse, or a member of the Long Fei family? But these 100,000 planes are all under my control. Why didn't outer space powerhouse notice anything when I entered? Damn it! Hong Tu clenched his fists tightly. A thick power of main god burst out from his body. The entire main temple trembled. Hong Tu's eyes turned sinister as he said solemnly, Long Fei, this time, if you don't die, next time, you will definitely die. And then Hong Tu raised his gaze and swept his gaze across the entire audience, then looked at the bunch of trash like God of Law, and a trace of killing intent flashed past his eyes. The 100,000 planes were filled with thick smoke and miasma. A person who was born with the authority of the top 100,000 planes was actually reduced to such a state by someone who was born to be a trash. Where is the dignity of the main temple? Huff! Hong Tu forcefully suppressed the anger in his body and said, Once the third entrance is opened, Long Fei will become the third overlord of the battleground. Then, we will start a war with him within the battleground. The gods were stunned. The meaning behind those words. Was he planning to not touch Long Fei now? Why? Could it be that even the sovereign could not touch Long Fei? Thinking of this, the gods were shocked yet again. But then, they rejected it. In the 100,000 planes, who could match up to sovereigns? No one. Long Fei could not do it either. Then, the gods stood up and said, As you command. One of the gods took a step forward and said, Lord God, before you returned, the evil god palace sent someone over to deal with Long Fei. Now that you are back, this matter. Hong Tu did not wait for him to finish and said, Then let's ally with them. There were almost no considerations. All the gods in the hall were secretly shocked. In the past, when the sovereigns had not returned, they were a little worried that they would not be able to suppress Long Fei, so they agreed to Evil God Palace's request. Isn't he overestimating Long Fei? Lord God, with our strength, we can easily take down Long Fei and the Evil God Palace. Why must we ally with the Evil God Palace? Hong Tu glanced at him and said, That's right, he wants to use an absolutely crushing posture to heavily crush Long Fei. All right. Stop being long-winded. All of you God of Law have been enjoying life for tens of thousands of years. Now, all of you must enter the battleground for me and become my generals. If Long Fei doesn't die, you all will die. Hong Tu shouted heavily. His words were laced with killing intent. All the gods immediately knelt on the ground and said in unison, "As you command." Hong Tu looked into the distance and said sinisterly, "I would like to see who can protect you after entering the battleground. Kid, just you wait." In another world, in the outskirts of Universal Large World, here, it was very close to the 100,000 plane that Long Fei was in, close enough to arrive in less than a day. An old man and a young man stood in the void. The elder bowed like a servant. The young man looked in the direction of the 10,000 planes and indifferently said, "Seems like the Long residence has already sent people over." "Young master, should we send someone over?" The old man slowly said. The man laughed and said, "There's no rush. Hong Tu is the ruler of 100,000 planes. Moreover, with a few million years of time, his current cultivation should be able to resist for a while. Let's take a look first." The old man immediately replied, "Yes." The man muttered, "Dragon Manor, Mu Clan, you are just struggling in death. Do you think that you can escape death just by placing the hope seed in a plane that the Universal Large World cannot control? Humph, this ancient inheritance. Don't even think about escaping my control. Only us, the gods' tribe, have the right to control and perfect the Universal Large World. All of the legacies must be under the control of our gods' tribe. You want to take the ancient inheritance away from the ancient world. You're stealing something from our Tian clan. Play with fire and set yourself on fire." Humph! The young man coldly snorted, turned around, and disappeared. The old servant glanced at the 100,000 planes, then disappeared as well in the next second. God's mountain. Long Fei was stupefied. He still hadn't figured out why the god had suddenly left, and why he looked so bedraggled. After thinking for a long time, Long Fei still could not come up with an answer. He was usually too lazy to think about things that he could not understand. There were more important things for him to do now. "Boss Long, I protected Jojo very well. You promised me just now, right? Can I be your little brother now?" Tang Renjia was like a dogskin paste, sticking to Long Fei, without letting go. Long Fei was helpless against him, looking at the husky on his shoulder that couldn't accept the soil and water. Long Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, "Do you really want to be my little brother that much?" "Actually, I want to be your boss more," Tang Renjia muttered as he looked at Long Fei. "I want to even in my dreams." Long Fei said, "What's so good about being my little brother?" Tang Renjia said, "The benefits are too many. Domineering, mighty, mighty, awesome." However, he thought to himself, "This is my mission," Jojo said, and said, "Since you can't chase him away, just accept him." As soon as Jojo finished speaking, Tang Renjia immediately said, "Thank you, sister-in-law." Long Fei shook his head and laughed. He could be considered to have acquiesced. He doesn't understand this Tang Renjia, but the first thing he felt when he saw Long Fei was that this person was harmless. Under normal circumstances, it would not be too bad to have a mount like the husky. Moreover, the feeling Tang Renjia gave Long Fei was a little mysterious. The three once more entered the secret room and looked at the soul cage. Huff! Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Renjia immediately took a step forward and released his energy, breaking the barrier on the spirit cage immediately. Then he stood aside, silently. The soul cage shattered. The souls inside began to fly out one by one, filling the entire chamber. A few souls surrounded Long Fei's left and right. Within these souls, Long Fei could feel a sense of familiarity. But Long Fei didn't know how to reconstruct a body, so he couldn't help but ask, "Do you know how to reconstruct a body?" Tang Renjia replied, "Yes." Long Fei was startled and thought to himself, "Damn, Is there anything I can't do? Tang Renjia said slightly. Boss, do you want to reconstruct all of these spirits with your own body? Or should we choose a few more souls? How about? Should I reconstruct all of these souls? Long Fei looked at him in shock. There were hundreds of millions of souls here. Chapter 2152, Dragon Ancestor and the Other's Choices. Chapter 2152, Dragon Ancestor and the Other's Choices, so fierce. Looking at Long Fei's shocked expression, Tang Renjia said in embarrassment, Actually, I was just joking too. I don't know how to remake my physical body. There isn't such a power in this world, unless the soul itself is extremely powerful and capable of continuous training. There are very few such souls. You want to revive them? That's impossible. They have all been dead for a very long time. It's impossible for them to be revived using any sort of great fleshly body reconstruction technique. The best way is not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei pointed to Jojo and said, She was resurrected using the art of flesh remodeling. Tang Renjia was startled and looked at Jojo with a serious gaze. His eyes flashed with a hint of shock, and he muttered, Body of the Phoenix? There was almost nothing in the 100,000 planes that could shock him. It was also from the beginning, other than Long Fei, he did not pay any other attention to Jojo. Now that he realized that Jojo's physique was different from others, he was secretly shocked in his heart. Jojo followed. That's right, I was resurrected by Zhan Wushuang using a special method. Tang Renjia said, Your physique is a little special. You have the body of a phoenix and the power of rebirth, which is why you are able to revive, but not these souls. The best way is to lure them into the infernal realm and reincarnate them. Of course, if their souls can cultivate on their own, then perhaps in the infernal realm they will be able to cultivate on their own. That will depend on their own luck. Indeed. So what if they were dead? Their souls were already dead when the Destiny God pulled them out. Long Fei was also clear about this in his heart. When he saw Jojo, he thought that all of his souls could be reconstructed with a body. It was only because Jojo possessed the power of rebirth that he was able to reconstruct his body. Tang Renjia thought for a moment, then continued. Every plane has the laws of every plane. Of course, not every law is perfect, and there are loopholes to look for. Long Fei's gaze tensed up and said, Speak to me. Tang Renjia grinned and said, The law of death in this 100,000 planes also has its loopholes, for example, the 9 reborn spiritual flowers. It is also known as the flower of resurrection. It is a loophole in the law of death. If I can find it, maybe I can save 1 or 2 of them. 9 reborn spiritual flowers. Long Fei was not unfamiliar with this name. However, Li Yuanba had told him before that this flower could be said to be a rare treasure, something that was basically impossible to find. Long Fei looked at Tang Renjia and said, Do you know where I can get this flower? Tang Renjia shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. I don't know, but this flower is reputed as a loophole in the law of death. How can ordinary people find it? Perhaps the people of the infernal realm will know. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. People of the infernal realm. I'm afraid the 8 King Kong knows better. Or his father. Calming his mind, Long Fei released the soul controlling and said, You are free. You can choose to enter reincarnation. No one will be able to control you, and no one will be able to absorb energy from your soul. All of a sudden, over 100 million souls rushed out, incomparably excited. They were all talking. Thank you, my lord. Thank you. Long Fei's soul controlling could hear their voices. Many of these souls have been imprisoned by the Destiny God for tens of thousands of years. After hundreds of thousands of years, they never thought they would be able to return to the cycle of reincarnation. They would always remember Long Fei's kindness. and also carried this kindness into the cycle of reincarnation, where they branded Long Fei onto their souls. To Long Fei, it was a piece of great karmic virtue. His soul would also evolve and transform. Next, Long Fei said again, I am Long Fei, a person from the Long family, Lu Luoshi, Qian Qian, Nangong Yen, dragon ancestor. Both of your souls have come to my side. I will find a way to reconstruct your bodies. And then, one soul after another appeared in front of Long Fei. Ha ha ha. Boss, you've become so strong now, Green Dragon Ancestor said while laughing. Black Dragon Ancestor's face was also full of excitement as he said, Boss, you're so awesome and domineering. The 8 golden dragons also said, Boss, you are mighty. And then Green Dragon Ancestor smiled faintly. Boss, our mission is over. We no longer have the qualifications to stay by your side. Black Dragon Ancestor revealed a faint smile. Boss, becoming your little brother is the glory of our life. Ha! Yes, this is something worth showing off all my life. Long Fei's mind tightened and said, What do you want to do? Don't do anything foolish. I will definitely find a way to reconstruct your physical bodies. Green Dragon Ancestor said, Boss, it's time for us to leave. We entered the divinity from the outer realm and brought the thing that the Dragon Manor was protecting here with us. At that time, we didn't know about our mission, nor did we know who we were protecting, and now we know. Boss, we are proud of you. His soul moved. Enter the entrance to the infernal realm. The 14th Dragon Ancestor had helped him too much. They were exactly like Long Fei's brothers. However, they didn't want to be a burden to Long Fei and directly chose to enter hell. The Azure Dragon was the leader, shouted nonstop, Stand still, stand still, I have a way to revive you. Stop right there. Green Dragon Ancestor turned his head to look at Long Fei and laughed. Boss, separation means reunion. At that time, we will definitely become stronger. Boss, goodbye. Buzz, Green Dragon Ancestor entered the cycle of hell. Dragon ancestors followed one after another. However, this was just the beginning. Among the Long family Long Fei's grandfather, the crazy Long was the same as well. With a benevolent smile, he was happier than anyone else seeing that Long Fei had achieved what he had achieved today. No one wanted to become a burden to Long Fei. Samsara was the best choice. Long Fei said, No, can you stop it? Xiao Bai's soul slightly moved and said, Boss, I'll still be your mount in my next life. Hee. But don't worry, I'll definitely hold back and use my strength. I won't hold back a fart. Hee. Icefire said, Boss, in my next life, I will also follow by your side. It's because you're too eye-catching. Ha ha ha. Bemin Beast, all kinds of war beasts. They all chose to enter the cycle of reincarnation in the infernal realm. Moreover, Lu Luoshi and the others were also the same. They were all Long Fei's women. They understood even more clearly that reviving would only be a burden to Long Fei, and they did not want to be a burden. Long Fei's tears even gushed out. He felt an indescribable pain in his heart. It was painful, very painful. As he watched the souls enter the cycle of reincarnation, he realized that they were once his family and brothers. It was only because he wasn't strong enough that they became like this due to his inability to protect them. Long Fei clenched both of his fists tightly. Chapter 2153. I'll protect him with my life in the next life. Chapter 2153. I'll protect him with my life in the next life pain. It was very painful. Long Fei's heart felt as if it was pierced by 10,000 swords. God's martial continent, chaos realm, other than the 8 King Kong and Jojo, everything else was gone. This kind of feeling made Long Fei feel as if he had something stuck in his throat, and it was extremely uncomfortable. It's all my fault. It's all because I'm not strong enough. It's all because of me. Long Fei looked at the surrounding souls that had dispersed, his tears uncontrollably surging out as his entire person also crouched down, even though there was no sound of crying. However, in Long Fei's heart, there was a heart-wrenching roar. He attributed all this to him because he wasn't strong enough to let them die. Now, he didn't even give them a chance to save him. How much pain did Long Fei's heart hurt? Even though Jojo didn't know what was happening, she could guess in her heart when she saw the souls around her become less and less. She crouched down to protect Long Fei and also began to sob softly. "Young master, don't be like this. Don't be like this." Tang Renjie was also somewhat impressed. However, he and Long Fei had different thoughts. People who become big don't care about small matters. Furthermore, there must be no shackles. Otherwise, if you were weak everywhere, how would you be able to reach the peak of power in the outside world? Tang Renjie said, slightly, "Everyone has their own calamity. Maybe this is their calamity. Their choice is to make you stronger. Become stronger. Become stronger. Become stronger." Long Fei kept repeating these 4 words, kept repeating them. After half an hour, Long Fei's eyes darkened. "I want to become stronger, stronger, and stronger." So many protagonists in novels could break through everything and enter various domains to search for and save their loved ones. Why can't I? In this world, I am also the protagonist of this novel. I can change fate. I can control everything. I want to become the heavens. I want to become the hegemon of all things. Long Fei almost went crazy. Jojo and Tang Renjie were a little confused. They simply could not understand what Long Fei was saying. What main character of the novel? Long Fei is also the main character of this novel. It was something they could not understand at all. He could do the same thing to countless novels about saving his family. When you become an omnipotent ruler, you will be omnipotent. The dead will be resurrected. The scorching sun will turn into the moon, the daytime into night, and the ants into gods. There was nothing he couldn't do. Only in this way would one be able to enter the realm of invincibility. Suddenly, Long Fei stood up, withdrew her tears, and said indifferently, "Return to Devil Island, in the infernal realm." 14 dragons returned to their real face form. However, it was just a spirit body. They all stood in front of Long Zhanting with respect. Long Zhanting said indifferently, "It's been hard on you guys," Green Dragon Ancestor said. "Thank you, Lord Dragon, for giving us this chance. To be able to fight alongside young Lord is our utmost honor." Long Zhanting waved his hand and said, "I am not some dragon lord. Don't call me that in the future." And then, Long Zhanting then said, "I have already prepared your gate of rebirth. It will lead to universal world. I'll give you guys 100 years to cultivate. By then, Long Fei would also be in universal world." Black Dragon Ancestor immediately laughed excitedly. "Ha ha ha! Can we fight alongside our boss again? This is too exciting. Ha ha ha! Even if you want me to die 10 more times, I'm still willing." 14th Dragon Ancestor was excited. Their mission was over, but there was a new mission awaiting him. This was the hell that Long Zhanting controlled. No matter what happened in the 100,000 planes, Long Zhanting had every means at his disposal to help Long Fei. It was also because Long Fei was reluctant to part with these dragon ancestors. That was why Long Zhanting made this arrangement. He is the king of hell. He can do anything for Long Fei. At the same time, he was also Long Fei's father. 14th Dragon Ancestor left. Long Zhanting came to the side of the Crazy Long and respectfully said, "Father." Crazy Long waved his hand and said, I don't dare to call you that. Long Shanting said, You are my father. You were, are, and will be. The one who is at fault is me. I shouldn't have kept it a secret for so long. Our Long family is a branch of the dragon race, and also a branch of the dragon palace. Sigh. Crazy Long let out a long sigh. It's been hard on that child. Crazy Long looked up at Long Shanting and said, Speak, what do you want us to do? Long Shanting said, Same as them. Enter the universal world. Crazy Long nodded his head and said, As long as I can help Long Fei, that child, I am willing to do anything, even if it means returning to the Dragon Manor. They had been abandoned. However, for Long Fei, he did not care about all this. Long Shanting said, Thank you, Father. One by one, the disciples of the Long family also entered the reincarnation passage that led to the universal world. They would also have to go through 100 years and retain memories. The universal world, were waiting for Long Fei's return. Xiao Bai and Bing Hua were also with them. Finally, Long Shanting came to Lu Luoxi, Qian Qian, Xiao Tiantian, and the others, and said calmly, You are all Long Fei's women. Thank you for bringing him joy. Are you willing to wait for him at Universal World? If you don't want to, I will revive you. Lu Luoxi said, I am. Once he revived, they would still become Long Fei's burdens. Moreover, who is Long Shanting? Their future father-in-law. We are willing. Long Shanting slightly nodded. I know that you all love Long Fei dearly, but I have something I need to tell you in advance. Long Fei has a wife. He probably won't marry you, because his wife wouldn't allow it. The girls were slightly taken aback. Lu Luoxi asked softly, Is she the wife of the universal world? Long Shanting nodded and said, Yes, she is the daughter of the one who possesses unparalleled wisdom and talent in the universal large world, and is also from an ancient clan, a powerful overlord in the outside world. Let me remind you guys, you won't get a placing by Long Fei's side. For a woman, names are important, no matter if it was the first wife, second wife, third wife, or youngest wife. At least they had the word wife attached to them. However, having no status meant that he was nothing, not even a lover. Lu Luoxi asked, Do you know anything about it, Long Fei? Long Shanting shook his head. I don't know. Oh. Lu Luoxi softly replied, and said with a light voice, Then, can you send me to the harshest plane within the universal large world? Long Shanting was startled and asked, Why? Lu Luoxi said firmly, I want to become strong, I want to become the overlord of universal world, and it is Long Fei who is protecting me in this life. In the next life, I am going to use my life to protect him. Me too. Me too. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2154, Slicing the Source Spirit Demon. Chapter 2154, Slicing the Source Spirit Demon. Long Fei did not know about what had happened in hell. He was even more unaware that he had a fiancée in the universal large world, a Devil Island. 5 days later, Long Fei brought Jojo and Tang Renjia back to the Devil Island. In just a few short years, the Devil Island had changed greatly. It was also because they had broken through the dome that the cultivation spirit energy here was the same as everywhere else in the ancient god battlefield. Boss, you're finally back. Boss. Ha ha ha. Boss, you're back. Everyone was excited. Ba Wanghua immediately threw himself into Long Fei's embrace. Yan Nantian hugged his sword and laughed. Bai Lian was also smiling. Lanya, the giant war group. Many people looked at Long Fei, and smiles hung on their faces. Long Fei's return caused them to be incomparably excited. These people were all Long Fei's brothers in the Devil Island. It was also a force that he had built up. Other than them, There were also demons from the Deep Abyss Mountain. The Night Royal family of the Night King Valley were all gathered here. They were waiting for Long Fei's return, waiting for him to lead them into the battleground. Long Fei looked at each and every familiar face, and couldn't help but clench his fists inside. These are my brothers, brothers that have fought with me before. The scene in the God's Mountain appeared in his mind, and all those souls chose to enter the cycle of hell. Long Fei's heart secretly ached. Then, his heart sank as he thought to himself, I will definitely not let anything happen to them. I will definitely lead them to their peak. At this moment, Jojo asked, Young master, where are Li Yuanba and the rest? Huh. Long Fei regained his composure. Only then did he remember what Jojo had said. Looking around, he did not see any signs of 8 King Kong, and felt that it was strange, so he asked, Where are Li Yuanba and the rest? Gold Robe Master's expression darkened slightly. The expressions of everyone present changed. He hadn't noticed it previously, but upon closer inspection, he realized that everyone was injured, and their faces appeared fatigued. What happened? Long Fei immediately asked. Everyone lowered their heads in silence. Long Fei shouted, Speak. Yan Nantian said slightly, After you left the Devil Island, there was no peace at all for the Devil Island. We tried to block it time and time again, but later on, the main temple directly sent the powerhouse over. Our Devil Island suffered heavy losses, but we could barely hold on. But this time, Yan Nantian frowned. His talent in the path of the sword was extremely strong, and he was never willing to fall behind. A belligerent. However, there was a trace of helplessness in his eyes. This was not fear, but a feeling that the heavens and the earth could not detect. Zhang Sanqian continued to speak. I don't know where these magic tribe came from. They were also attracted to this place by those fellows from Main Temple. In the short span of a month, we've suffered great losses, countless casualties. If it wasn't for 8 King Kong coming in time, I'm afraid you won't see us at all. Zhang Sanqian said indifferently, his fists clenched inside his sleeves. He was very unwilling. Long Fei left. He wanted to do everything he could to make the Devil Island stronger, but yet this was the case. He somewhat hated himself for not doing well. He felt that he had let Long Fei down. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Soul Demon Clan. For the entire 100,000 planes to have such a powerful strength, it must be the Soul Demon Clan that he released a while ago. Thinking about Soul Demon Clan, Long Fei's heart also started to blaze. F***CK, do you want to touch your father's men? You still want to take my land? Fuck you. Then, Long Fei moved, his mind spreading to cover the entire Devil Island. At this moment, on the battlefield, the Holy Spirit's body jolted, and he became excited. King Kong, the boss is here. Li Yuanba was surprised and laughed simple-mindedly. Aoya's expression was filled with longing as she looked into the distance. Ha ha! I'm finally going to see boss. Fat Menchen was like a ball of meat, rolling on the ground and crushing a Soul Demon Clan into a pulp. Lin Yusheng, Arhut, each and every Black Knife uncle was incomparably excited. Not just 8 King Kong. The expression of the great demon king of the Soul Demon Clan turned cold as he revealed an excited expression. Ha ha! Main Temple is right. There really is a super powerhouse in Devil Island. Kids, kill. Turn this Devil Island into hell. Boom. As soon as he finished, the great Devil King Source spirit waved a long soul-slaying blade. The blade body ignited with purple flames, fiercely waving it, causing the purple flames to scatter and a large wave of Soul Demon Clan to appear out of nowhere like a scatter seeds which become solidars. Soul Demon Clan, that covered the ground rushed forward. An incomparable surge of power. Li Yuanba gently shook his head. Crack, crack, crack. The joints exploded. With a move of his right hand, he summoned the dark giant spirit axe. With a wave of his battle axe, he pointed at the great demon god Soul and roared, "Your time of death has come." Then, the sarcophagus on Li Yuanba's back shook. Boom! As the god coffin flew out, Li Yuanba also crazily rushed out. Fat Men Chun laughed, wildly all the way. His entire being was like a 250-year-old madman. He did not attack, but his defense, however, seemed to be able to crush everything. The figure of the Arhut Devil Buddha appeared, his entire body covered in blood. Black Knife Uncle's great black knife slashed horizontally with its blade, and the dark blade chi shot out like lightning. The power of the 8 King Kong erupted crazily. The great devil of Soul sneered and said, "Just the 8 of you? Not enough. Not enough. My Soul Demon Clan is a foreign magic tribe. All of you go and die." As soon as he finished, the 8 generals beside Great Devil of Soul all flew out at the same time. Demonic flames soared to the sky. In the sky, it was like rolling black clouds rolling over towards them. 8 King Kong attacked head-on. For a moment, it was as if the sky had split open and the two powers clashed against each other, creating a long fissure. Great Devil of Soul laughed strangely. "Ha ha ha. All must die. Even if you want to die, you have to die first." A voice sounded. The void moved. A figure broke through the skies, the power of 129 law energies frantically gushing out, forming a sword of law. A furious slash. Great Devil of Soul looked at Long Fei, and his eyes were slightly shocked. "It's you, kid? I didn't expect you to still be alive. Ha ha ha. It seems that the heavens have been pretty good to me, and you really want to leave your body to me. Then I'll accept it." While they were talking, the great demon god's soul-slaying blade moved, blocking horizontally, and streams of Soul Demon Clan's devil flames all over his body surged towards Long Fei. "Give me your fleshly body." "Ha ha ha. Your body is mine." Chapter 2155, Wild God Energy. Chapter 2155, Wild God Energy. The devil fire rushed towards Long Fei's body like a string of ghosts. Long Fei didn't hesitate at all. His blood essence stirred. Ming Clan mark. Power. Open. Buzz. As the blood essence fell, the Ming Clan imprint appeared on Long Fei's left arm, and a surge of energy also erupted violently from his left arm. It blocked all of the demonic flames. Great Devil of Soul's eyes darkened. Ming Clan's imprint. What is this power? Even he didn't know about the Ming Clan. Ming Clan was one of the oldest families in the universal large world. He was even older than the Dragon Tribe, and was the overlord of billions of years ago. Now whither? No one even knew about the existence of the Ming Clan. Although the Great Devil of Soul was also an alien, he did not know about the matters of the Ming Clan. However, he could feel the strong power exploding out of the Ming Clan imprint. His eyes darkened. He roared out, "The 100,000 plane is useless no matter how strong you are. All of you have to die for me." The power of the demonic flame moved again. The soul-slaying saber in his hand soared into the sky and slashed downwards. Black flames burned. It was incomparably sharp. The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he said, "Too ignorant." Long Fei's left hand moved, forming a hand blade, and easily slashed down. The blade of Main God and the Dong Huang clock were both gone. Long Fei did not have any weapon on hand right now, but looking at the gigantic soul-slaying saber in Great Devil of Soul's hands, Long Fei became interested. He exploded forth with his strength. "Dark blade. Shua. Explode for me." With a chop of his hand, the power of the Ming clan seal erupted and directly destroyed the devil flames released by the Great Devil of Soul. Great Devil of Soul's face changed drastically. He watched as the blade descended. He could not find a way to resist and shouted, "Impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can destroy my power, even the God of Law of your world." He did not even put the God of Law in his eyes. But now, his strength was crushed, shattered, and then completely disappeared one after another. This was absolute suppression. The dark slash got closer and closer. Great Devil of Soul's body was trembling. "Puchi, spare my life. I was wrong. Please spare my life. I won't dare to do it again. I don't dare," kneeling and begging for mercy. "Spare you?" Long Fei's eyes were filled with anger, and he said, "Then why didn't you forgive those commoners in Devil Island back then? Why? Why did the people of the main temple ask you to come here? And why are you here? Why? Why did they tell you to eat shit? Why do you guys eat shit? Injured my people, stole my territory, and now you want me to spare you? Do you think that's possible?" Great Devil of Soul continued, "Please spare my life. The soul-slaying saber is yours." This soul-slaying blade is a foreign war device, and is definitely the strongest ice blade in this world. Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei bellowed, "Just one soul-slaying blade is enough for me to spare you?" Great Devil of Soul immediately said, I also have a source spirit orb. This is the holy object of our soul world. It can collect all of Magic Tribe's soul for cultivation." He then handed over a fist-sized bead. However, this bead, why does Long Fei look so familiar, like Dragon Ball within the 7 Dragon Pearl? Soul orb? Is it really the source spirit orb? Long Fei asked this. This question was not directed at the Great Devil of Soul, but rather to himself. It's exactly the same. Great Devil of Soul nodded his head like a chick pecking rice. It's precisely this soul pearl, a sacred object of the soul realm. It can absorb all souls and convert the energy within the soul into the energy that you need. I didn't lie to you. It was also because of this primordial soul orb that I was expelled from this place and was sent to this place by the seal. I really didn't lie to you. Long Fei took the 2 items and asked, "Is there anything else?" Great Devil of Soul had an innocent look as he said, "No, there's really nothing else. My source spirit can't bring more, so it's really gone." "Oh, then how do I know if you're lying to me?" Long Fei asked. Great Devil of Soul said, "Heaven and earth can witness this. I swear to God, I don't have anything else on me." Long Fei laughed. "I have a way to verify this. Do you want to test it?" Great Devil of Soul immediately said, "I am willing." While they were talking, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as he bellowed, "Kill!" The dark blade descended. Great Devil of Soul roared in anger and said, You didn't keep your promise. His source spirit shattered. The system beep also started to sound out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Great Devil of Soul for obtaining 100 million experience, 100 million holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. It was just a prompt. Nothing else came out. Long Fei grinned and said, "As expected, there's nothing else. You really didn't lie to me." Long Fei looked at Great Devil of Soul's corpse and laughed. "Kill my people and steal my territory. How can you not die? How could my blood essence be wasted? Once the blood essence is used, of course, it has to be used to kill people." At this moment, the soul orb in Long Fei's hand moved and floated into the air, directly absorbing the Great Devil of Soul's soul into it. A system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for collecting Berserk God's energy. 100 points. Huh. Wild god energy? What do you mean? Long Fei's mind trembled. He immediately opened the system and checked, isn't the Sky Soul Pearl only able to absorb souls and then convert them into cultivation energy? Why did it become a raging god's energy again? He opened the system and carefully studied it. Long Fei didn't even manage to research a fart. He had no idea what was going on with regards to these 100 points of raging god's power. He couldn't trigger them even if he wanted to. It was unknown whether it was because his level was not high enough or his energy values was too low. Mad God's energy. Could it be that I can summon a divine dragon after gathering all the energy in the bead? Long Fei thought in delight, summoning a divine dragon. Then I can revive them all. Ha ha ha. Long Fei was excited. Of course. He had no idea what the use of Mad God's energy was. With the death of Great Devil of Soul, he fled in defeat. 8 King Kong chased for a while before being called down by Long Fei. Don't chase anymore. The 8 King Kong descended. Long Fei looked at the 8 of them and was extremely excited in his heart. They had finally reunited. The 8 King Kong brought out by God's martial continent, reunited once again. Long Fei couldn't say that feeling. And then Long Fei said, "Go back, we need to prepare. We are going to make these 100,000 planes tremble." Long Fei said fiercely, "Fight with all your might." It was also the final battle. Chapter 2156. Your extradition person. Chapter 2156. Your extradition person Devil Island meeting room. 8 King Kong stood beside Long Fei. In the hall, Night King Bai Chi, the commander of the demons in the Deep Abyss Mountain, Gold Robe Master, Zhang Sanqian, Yan Nantian, Bawang Hua, and there was also Tang Renjia, who was standing at the door. At this moment, on his shoulders, he was still carrying the husky. Everyone discussed matters of the battleground. I say, there's no need to wait. Let's start the fight. What's there to be afraid of? The boss already has the power of 129 laws in his grasp. Who's his match? Exactly. That's right, let's do it. But we don't know what's going on inside. Besides, who among us has ever entered the battleground? What's the pattern inside? I think it's best to consider things from a long-term perspective. When they still have yet to react, they quickly took down the entire group. In a single breath, they overthrew the main temple and also brought them to an island where they established a firmament and let them have a taste of being imprisoned. All of them hated the main temple very much, be it the people of the Devil Island or the demons of the Deep Abyss Mountain. They all wanted to do it. This was also because of Long Fei's style. Don't submit, just do it. Zhang Sanqian looked at Long Fei and said, "Commander, what do you think?" Long Fei kept stopping and did not comment. Once Zhang Sanqian's voice fell, the hall quietened down. Even Tang Renjia had turned his head to look at Long Fei, who was seated on the highest seat. Long Fei said indifferently, "You guys hate Main Temple?" The Gold Robe Master was the first to speak. "Of course I hate him. If it wasn't for Main Temple's unfair treatment, all of us would have been exiled because of him." The Elder Lai, who also said, "If it wasn't for the people of Main Temple selling them off, why would we demi-humans wait in that kind of cold weather for tens of thousands of years? I must take revenge for this resentment. You guys hate me. Are there others who hate those 100,000 planes as well?" Long Fei asked. Yan Nantian said, "What you mean is for all of the powerhouse S of the 100,000 realms to join our side. No, my idea is to have the 100,000 people from the realm of Main Temple join our camp." Long Fei slowly said, "Our power within the battleground is not even comparable to that of the evil god Palace S, let alone the Main Temple S of over 100 of them. If we want to win in the battleground, Our strength alone is far from enough. Indeed, Long Fei had entered the battleground before, so he was very clear about the situation inside. Everyone is restricted. Long Fei was the same. However, he only roughly knew about the situation in battleground. Main Temple had controlled the battleground for tens of thousands of years, so they had a better understanding of the rules inside. Moreover, Main Temple and Evil God Palace alliance, then Long Fei's third party, would probably have no chance at all. If the battleground lost, it would be difficult to overthrow the Main Temple. In the hall, everyone quieted down, but every single plane of the 100,000 realms is restricted, and the number of powerhouse that can enter the primordial divine war are extremely few. Even if they hate us, I'm afraid they wouldn't be willing to join our side. Yeah, who is willing to join the Evil God Palace alliance to send us to our deaths? Long Fei said indifferently. Indeed, it is very difficult to enter the primordial God battle dimension, but there is a plane of the same grade as the primordial God battle dimension. Divinity. The divinity is the most ancient plane of the 100,000 worlds. It is the gathering place of the powerhouse of the 100,000 worlds. If you can get the powerhouse inside there to come with us. Long Fei laughed faintly. Divinity, the breeding ground of the powerhouse S in the 100,000 planes. Most of the powerhouse in the ancient god battle came from the divinity. Moreover, the gods in the Main Temple were the same, and those who hated them were also in the divinity. Other than that, Long Fei's clone, the fiend god body, had successfully transcended the tribulation. He was currently cultivating in the divinity. Moreover, his cultivation speed was astonishing. Long Fei's Sumi rings had the legacies of the Ming clan. He wanted to pass them down to his clones so that he could control the power of the Ming clan. If he managed to comprehend anything from them, Long Fei would think of a way to give the Ming clan's imprints to his clones and let him search for the ancient inheritance. Nether. I'll do it, Gold Robemaster said. Slightly. My family is in the divinity. War has a lot of things to prepare. Pills, weapons, equipment, not a single one can be missing. Either not. If we're going to fight, then we have to show them our strength. Long Fei said in a heavy voice. He did not choose to enter the battleground at the first moment. Main Temple and Evil God Palace had been in battleground for thousands of years. They didn't need to prepare anything, but Long Fei needed it. He wanted to complete all the missions that the dragon had left him. He had to prepare everything, because the prophecy of disaster was still there. Long Fei didn't know when he would appear, and the only thing he could do was to prepare everything. The crowd dispersed. Only the 8 King Kong remained in the hall. Long Fei said, I have a special mission for all of you. Li Yuanba said, Boss, go ahead. Long Fei said, find the location of the Main Temple when I enter the battleground. All of you attack the Main Temple. The 8 people were slightly startled. Long Fei continued, no matter the cost, you must break through the Main Temple. Once the battleground goes to war, Hong Tu, all of the evil gods' concentration will be on me. At that time, there shouldn't be anyone who can stop you from ambushing the Main Temple. Li Yuanba said, Boss, Hong Tu and the evil god are in the battleground. You are in even more danger. We should be by your side. Why attack a Main Temple without any defenses? Indeed, if the Main Temple plane did not have any defense, why did it attack? The battlefield should be in battleground. Long Fei said, all gods have a divine root. My deity root is in the Devil Island, because the millions of lives here in the Devil Island are willing to help me become a god. Those God of Law and even God's deity root are in the Main Temple. As long as we can break through the Main Temple, their spirit root will be affected, and their power will be greatly reduced. This matter will be absolutely safe, so I will allow the 8 of you to come with us. The 8 King Kong was one body, even though Long Fei didn't know what ancient world's 8 heaven pillar meant, but the combined power of the 8 of them was extremely strong. Everyone stopped talking. They would definitely do what Long Fei told them to do. Long Fei said, "Everything be careful." The 8 of them nodded their heads heavily and said, "Boss, be careful too." And then the 8 of them left. Tang Renjia was squatting at the door, shaking his head as he watched 8 King Kong leave. Long Fei asked, "What are you laughing about?" Tang Renjia stood up, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Boss Long, no matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put in, that great calamity is still there. And this calamity will affect everyone around you. If you can withstand it, they will live. If you can't withstand it, they will die." Long Fei looked at Tang Renjia seriously and asked, "Just who are you?" Tang Renjia laughed and said, "Your extradition person. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2157, Completing the Dragon Coffin Mission. Chapter 2157, Completing the Dragon Coffin Mission. Extradition person? What do you mean? Long Fei asked. Tang Renjia did not say anything. He only laughed, and then walked far away while carrying the husky that could not tolerate the soil and water, and a voice came from far away. "You will understand in the future." It slowly disappeared. "Weird," Long Fei muttered, and did not think too much about what Tang Renjia had said. His current focus should be on the battleground. Before entering the battleground, he had to prepare everything. Long Fei entered the training room. The idea moved and entered the cultivation world of the dragon coffin. Looking at the training world that was identical to its original form, it was just that, without the colossal dragon. Long Fei looked at the distant sky and muttered, "I will definitely complete all of your missions. I will. Then, I choose the practice method of inscribing formations." Boom. Boom. Ding. Inscription failed. Boom. Long Fei's idea was blown out. Long Fei didn't even bat an eye towards death right now. He only said lightly, "Again." Ding. Fail. Continue. Ding. Fail. A crazy failure. Long Fei would not stop at all whenever he failed, and he chose to continue on. Although the colossal dragon was no longer here, he had given him everything he could teach. What Long Fei needed to do now was to train hard. These training methods were useless to him, but this was the dragon's mission, and he had to complete it. Again. Continue. Just a bit more. I don't believe it. In the secret room, Long Fei's angry roars kept on ringing. Just like how he fought. If he didn't submit, he would do it. In another place. All of you are willing to submit to me? Evil God Palace. Soul Demon Clan's generals kneeled in front of the evil god. They wanted to take revenge on the death of their great devil of soul, but their powers were not a match for Long Fei. However, they knew very well who wanted to take Long Fei's life in this world. All of the Source Spirit Demon generals said solemnly, "We are willing. As long as we can kill Long Fei, we are willing to pay any price." Of course, their goal wasn't just to kill Long Fei, but more importantly, to take back the Yun Soul Realm's sacred artifact, the Soul Bead. They did not mention this matter. Your big brother was killed by Long Fei. From today onwards, I am your big brother. Follow me into the battleground. I swear to you, I will definitely take Long Fei's head away. Ha ha ha. The evil god laughed maniacally. These Source Spirit Demon generals' cultivations were not weaker than God of Law. With the addition of these demon generals, the power of his evil god palace became even stronger. At that time, once Long Fei died, he would be at war with Sovereign Hong Tuesday. With the addition of these demon generals, his power would greatly increase and would definitely not be weaker than the main temple. Then, the evil god waved his right arm, and the entrance to the battleground appeared. Everyone entered the battleground, reporting to Lord Evil God, "We have found the location of Long Fei's ancient entry." A warlord quickly reported. The eyes of the evil god trembled, and it said, "All right, ha ha ha. Long Fei, you won't be able to escape this time. I told you a long time ago not to try and make a connection with the ancient entry. You just had to do it your way and follow me to overthrow the main temple. Now, you ungrateful dog, your time of death is almost up." The evil god hated Long Fei a lot in his heart. Long Fei had ruined his plans time and time again, and she had rejected his invitation. As the evil god, his heart was already filled with anger. "Someone, come. Send the news to main temple." The evil god smiled faintly. The many generals were puzzled and asked, "Master, why are you telling main temple? If we take Long Fei down, our morale will rise greatly as well. We don't even need to notify main temple." The evil god said, "What do you know? Long Fei is no longer the Long Fei of the past. Furthermore, we are currently in an alliance with the main temple, so we should be able to get them to lend a hand. We should at least send out a few dozen of their god of law-ass, right? By then, once Long Fei dies, they will be killed. Two birds with one stone. Ha ha ha." The evil god's heart was very venomous. Even with the main temple alliance, his ambition was still to become a sovereign. One of the warlords quickly retreated. The evil god looked into the distance with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "Long Fei, I know you are a tactical expert, but we will definitely not give you the chance to actually enter the battlefield. The moment you enter the battleground, you will immediately die. Just you wait." Long Fei's previous performance was too stunning, and until now, he still had not studied it thoroughly. So how did Long Fei do it? But none of that mattered. As long as Long Fei entered the battleground, he would be like a turtle in a jar, unable to escape death. Now, what he needed to do now was to set up an inescapable net, waiting for Long Fei to enter the stage. Ding. Inscription mission completed. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the inscription mission. You have received the system's special reward, Divine Weapon Formation. Ding. Congratulations, player Long Fei for completing the talisman mission. You have received the system's special reward, Sky Outlet Fire Talisman. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing half a month. For an entire half a month, Long Fei had not left the secret room even half a step and had been madly cultivating the entire time. One mission after another was completed. Long Fei's understanding towards each and every supporting occupation was also sublimated and was completely different from one another. Every time he completed a mission, the system will reward you. This was also what Long Fei relied on to become strong. However, these were not enough. The huge dragon once said that these were merely primary realm-s to universal large world. How strong was the universal large world? Long Fei didn't know. Giant dragon, I've completed all of your tasks. Long Fei silently said in his heart. There were no changes in the cultivation world of the dragon coffin. The colossal dragon's voice did not ring. Long Fei clenched both his fists tightly and thought to himself, I will definitely kill the universal world. And then he walked out of the training room. Outside the secret room, colorful fairy dragon stood outside the secret room and waited. Not only that, many clans of the divinity that had dragon clans in them had sent their strongest experts to assist in the battle. Dragon Race, Hanba Clan, Giant Clan, Warbeast Race. In just half a month, Gold Robe Master and Rainbow Dragon God had used all their connections and brought over half of the divinity's experts to the Devil Island. At the same time, amongst these people, Long Fei saw another person. Magic Body, Clone. Long Fei's eyes flashed, his heart becoming excited. They're here. Ha ha. Everyone is here. At this moment, Jojo walked over and said softly, Young Master, Yuan Ba has already locked onto the location of the main temple's plane. We are only waiting for you to enter the battleground to start the battle. All right. Long Fei replied heavily. Jojo, have you prepared the things I asked you to prepare? Jojo nodded his head and said, Everything is ready. Chapter 2158. Sovereigns. Chapter 2158. Sovereigns, the mission Long Fei gave Jojo before his closed-door cultivation. Gathering spirit grass. Collect ores. When Long Fei did something, he would either not do it or do it to the best of his abilities. He entered the battleground, either not or not. Then he would have to use a crushing method to trample everything beneath his feet. With his current level of alchemy, his level of artifact forging had completely exceeded the limits of the 100,000 planes. He wanted to refine a divine pill. He had refined several main artifact. He wanted all of them to have main artifact, and every one of them had a divine pill that they could not kill, suppressing everything with their invincible posture. After some explanation, Long Fei entered the secret room again. In the secret room, the Magic Body's avatar was already waiting for him. Seeing his clone that had just underwent tribulation, this clone completely possessed his own consciousness. It could be said that this clone was not a clone at all, but Long Fei himself. His thoughts were exactly the same as his own. The only difference was Magic Body does not have a system. He has super inherent skill. The God's Stellastone and God's Bone Taboo, coupled with Long Fei's super strong power, were born. Innate talent invincible. Long Fei released Xiao Yan and immediately took off the Sumi rings, saying, Take him and leave this place. Use your talent to break through the shackles of the 100,000 planes and enter the universal world. He did not want his clone to stay by his side. The existence of the doppelganger was the strongest secret other than the secret of the system. He wanted this clone. If he encountered any mishaps, he would still have a chance to use this clone to turn the situation around. Within the Sumi rings, there were treasures left behind by the Ming clan. As long as the clone could comprehend them and cultivate, it would not be difficult to break through the 100,000 planes. Taking the Sumi rings, the clone moved slightly and disappeared. Long Fei looked at Xiao Yan and smiled. You have also reached the level of a Do-D, right? The training of the heavenly flame should be able to destroy the heavens and the earth, right? In addition to your cultivation, aren't your alchemy level also very high? Come, let's compete today and see who's stronger. Then, Long Fei and Xiao Yan entered the state of oblivion in their alchemy. Although Xiao Yan's alchemy is very high, but this was Long Fei's world, and adding the cultivation from the dragon coffin, his alchemy had already surpassed 100,000 planes. The spirit pills they produced were all at the sovereign level. Every single one of them was an extremely powerful existence. It could be said that it was a pill that could instantly fill one's blood, a sovereign-level medicinal pill. The success rate was 100%, and in the end, Xiao Yan directly became Long Fei's assistant. When the two joined forces, the speed of their alchemy would be even faster. 3 days later, Long Fei was also crazily using the ores Jojo had collected to refine main artifact. With his super strong holy power value and his power of laws, he was just as fast. Main artifact, done. Boom! With a loud bang, the heavenly hammer heavily crashed down. A large saber was created. It was also at this time. Thunder roared in the sky above the Devil Island as the power of main God surged crazily, converging and landing on the blade. Power of main God. A main artifact has appeared. Lord God was clearly here. Why would... The expressions of the main temple's gods changed slightly. Hong Tu's face also darkened. His fists couldn't help but tightly clench, and his face was full of anger, refining main artifact. Not waiting for them to react. Rumble! Another loud sound. Power of main God surged out again, gathering together, striking down powerfully. Another main artifact has appeared. Rumble! What's going on? It's only been a few minutes. How come another main artifact appeared? What exactly are Long Fei and the rest doing? My lord, are we just going to let him go like this? Main temple was moved. Even these god of law didn't have any main artifact, but the main artifact on Long Fei's side appeared one after another, just as they were talking. Another main artifact was born. The god of law were stupefied. Sovereign Hong Tu's face became even uglier. Every single main artifact that appeared didn't go past him. The sovereign, that was simply slapping his face. He slapped his left and his right, hard. This taste. It was hard. Fury surged within Hong Tu's heart as he clenched his teeth, so hard that they crackled explosively. The aura from his entire body frantically spread out, and instantly, the many god of law within the main temple were crushed to the point where they were forced to kneel on the ground without being able to move. Anger. At this moment, a voice echoed in Hong Tu's sea of consciousness. Hong Tu's expression changed greatly as his anger instantly disappeared. No one from the 100,000 planes dared to call out his name, and this voice didn't come from the 100,000 planes, but from the other realms. Hong Tu's consciousness moved. Buzz. Entering into an empty space, Hong Tu bowed with incomparable respect and said, Master. The master of a sovereign, vanity deity. He was also the outer space powerhouse and was also a manager of the Tian family. That year, it was also because of his help that Hong Tu was able to become the sovereign king of 100,000 planes. The Long residents had been arranging everything that year, but the Tian family was also arranging everything. Long Fei, there must be a calamity. This calamity can't take his life, can't take his death. I want you to kill him and bring his corpse over here. Use this black box. With a flip of his right hand, a black box appeared. The box was normal, but it was made by the vanity deity. Hong Tu received it with both hands and said slightly, Master, there seems to be an outer space powerhouse protecting Long Fei by his side. I'm worried. The vanity deity said indifferently, You don't have to worry. No matter how strong that outer space powerhouse is, he won't be able to enter the battleground. It is a very special space. And Long Fei's calamity is also not something that he can resolve. Mu Wanner had spent tens of thousands of years and still was unable to resolve it. You think you can do it with just the disciples of the other king? He's too far off. Hong Tu nodded and said, Master, what exactly is Long Fei's calamity? Vanity deity's eyes froze. Hong Tu immediately lowered his head and did not even dare to breathe loudly, and said, Disciple has spoken too much, Vanity deity said coldly. Since it's a calamity, then it's the arrangement of the heavens. No one knows. You just have to do your best and do it yourself. Remember, we have to get hold of Long Fei's body. Do you understand? Hong Tu really wanted to know the use of Long Fei's corpse. If they were dead, would they be able to blossom? However, he didn't dare to ask, as he was very clear about his master's temper. Similarly, he knew his own identity. Rather than calling him a disciple, it would be more accurate to call him a chess piece. From the day he became his disciple, he was very clear on this. However, if the vanity deity could give him unparalleled power and the power to give him the 100,000 dimensions, why wouldn't he listen obediently? Hong Tu said, "Disciple understands." The void moved. The void vanished. In another place, vanity deity stood behind a young man and said, "Young master, everything has been completed." Now, he wanted to say something like a loyal old dog standing behind the man. The man looked into the sky and laughed. "A little long family dares to fight against us. You overestimate yourself." Humph. The big picture was in his hands. Chapter 2159. Battle. Chapter 2159. Battle, boom. It was another set of main artifact-s. Long Fei had refined all the ores he could. He spent an entire half a month. A pile of sovereign-level divine pills. A bunch of main artifact weapons. Long Fei wanted to create a strong army. The moment they walked out of the secret chamber, everyone boiled over with excitement. Long Fei let out a loud roar. "Those who follow me will die. Follow me, eat and drink with me. Anything you want is fine. Main artifact. 1 for each of us. Sovereign-level divine pellets. 3 for each person. Just don't be terrified. Just do it for me." Long Fei was just like a madman. He took out everything he had left behind. It could be said that he didn't hold anything back, and he didn't need to hold anything back either. This was the final battle, and he would reach the heavens in 1 step if he succeeded. Failure, then he would die. The dragon race roared, the dragon roared. All the living creatures on Devil Island roared. His voice was deafening. Long Fei looked at the crowd and said, "This will be the last battle. Anyone who follows me into the battleground will be a hero after today, and you will have everything. Even if you all die because of this, your families and your families will have everything. I, Long Fei, swear on it. If you don't do it, Main Temple will not rest." Boom. Once his voice fell, the power of the ancient code on Long Fei's body rocketed into the sky and exploded in the sky like an arrow piercing through the clouds. It was also at this time the 8 King Kong that was silently waiting in the air trembled slightly. A ray of light flashed across Li Yuanba's eyes, and he excitedly said, "It's starting!" Long Fei flipped his right hand, and a door to an ancient entry opened. Rumble! On the Demon Plaza, the army had rushed through the main entrance of the ancient entry. Yen Nantian, Bawanghua, Jojo, Bai Lian, Sweeping Monk. They took the lead and charged into the ancient entry. At this moment, inside the battleground, feeling the fluctuations in the air, the evil god's eyes shined with a brilliant light. The corners of his mouth slightly curled up. Hee, they're finally here. In the distance, God Hong Tu looked at the black box in his hand. He could not feel what was inside the black box. It was like a bottomless abyss. At the same time, he couldn't understand what exactly was hiding inside Long Fei's body. However, Hong Tu wanted it to be very simple. A hegemon of the 100,000 plains, an unshakable sovereign, being able to maintain the position of the local tyrant was enough. And after Long Fei got rid of him, he would not have stepped into the universal large world. That place was simply not a world where he could live. Hong Tu put away the black box and lightly said, "Long Fei, it's time for your death." And then his figure moved and disappeared into the void of battleground. Boom. 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 The third entrance opened. Within the valley, space twisted. In that instant, the evil god shouted, "Archers, get ready!" Creak, creak, creak. On both sides of the valley, tens of thousands of archers drew their bows and arrows aiming at the entrance. Rumble, 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 rumble. The door opened, and the first group of people rushed out. At this moment, the evil god gave the order. Shoot! Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, the rain of arrows filled the sky, blotting out the sky as they crazily shot down. The battleground is different from the outside world, and the crossbowmen here are also different. If you hit the target, no matter how strong your defense is, you would be injured. Those with weaker cultivations would directly die. This space for hegemony was an independent existence. In this space, you can only choose a few cultivation techniques. Defend! Jojo shouted and flew up into the sky. At this moment, a streak of flame spread across the sky. It formed a shield of fire, blocking most of the arrows. However, many others were shot and quickly fell. Shoot again. Swish, swish, swish. Another wave of arrows fell from the sky. When Jojo blocked it with his fire shield, the energy slightly weakened by quite a bit. Moreover, under the dense barrage of arrows, the people at the entrance were unable to come out. They continued to madly squeeze their way through the Demon Plaza, until finally a large number of people collapsed in a disorderly formation. Boss, this won't do. I have to break his crossbow. Why does it feel like we can't use our cultivation base here? What's going on? What kind of plane is this battleground exactly? Boss, Jojo can't hold on much longer. The people behind, stop squeezing. His heart was in chaos, was blocked firmly at the ancient entry. The fire shield quickly weakened, and Jojo's aura became a little chaotic. If this continued, she would be in trouble. Long Fei did not think that the people from the evil god palace and the main temple would actually block the entrance. This was his mistake. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, are you feeling good? This is the battleground. You trash can go die now. Ha ha ha. This is not the outside world. We are the big boss here. You dog want to fight with us for power, and you want to overthrow the main temple. You think you're worthy? Many people began to curse. The god crossbows were only the first wave of attacks. A stronger attack was waiting for Long Fei. They wanted Long Fei to lose without even being able to stand firmly. The evil god couldn't help but laugh complacently. Long Fei, you're too inexperienced. You can't beat us. Ha ha ha. Before even one round had passed, Long Fei had already lost. Even if his army had more main artifact, what was the point of having a high morale? If he couldn't even execute it, then what was the point? Long Fei did not make a sound. His idea frantically sensed his surroundings. Suddenly, the idea slightly moved as the time law flowed through her body. Time reset. Buzz. Time flowed back, and everything returned to what it was 3 minutes ago, in the Demon Plaza, when the ancient entry had just opened. Long Fei smirked. Are you strong, or are you so strong? I'll go in first. You guys follow me in. Finished. Long Fei instantly charged into the ancient entry. The instant that time was reset. The evil god also felt the reverse flow of time and space, as he said in a heavy tone, "Be careful of Long Fei's laws of time." Careful? Ha ha. Too late. With that said, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as they floated in midair. He raised his hand into the air and roared loudly, "Star Book! Death Star Bomb! Is the god crossbow powerful? Let me show you what a death bombing is." With a move of Titan King's power, the gobbledygook turned over and grabbed an incomparably large round meteorite in Long Fei's hand. Darkness covered the sky. Long Fei waved his right hand. Bam! He heavily smashed down. All of you die. Brothers, charge! Thank you for your support. Chapter 2160, Gaming. Can you ever play me? Chapter 2160, Gaming. Can you ever play me? Battleground can only bring 4 skills. Time Reset was the first time for Long Fei. The second, Star Book. When the Death Star bombarded down, there was no need to waste any time. It was just a giant sphere bombarding down, not giving you any chance to explain it all. The sky darkened, shrouding the sky and blotting out the sun. What is this? What is falling from the sky? Oh my God! All of them were stupefied. The people lying in ambush around the valley raised their heads to look at the sky. They were all scared silly by this giant sphere. At the same time, Long Fei bellowed, "Charge out!" The evil god's reaction was fast as he said in a deep voice, "Source Spirit Demon General." A few God of Law also flew out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Asterisk, bolts of lightning shot out like lightning, crazily flying out. In the moment that the Death Star descended, the Source Spirit Demon Generals clashed with the God of Law S. It was also at this moment that the evil god roared loudly, "Everyone don't panic! God Crossbow! Shoot! Long Fei, I know that you have the power to reset time in one strike, but this is an inescapable net." "He's dead for sure," the evil god shouted. Long Fei had prepared in Devil Island for an entire month. Similarly, the people of Evil God Palace and Main Temple had been preparing for this entire month. They wanted Long Fei to die here without any chance to fight with them. Boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. The Source Spirit Demon General's body was extremely large as it tenaciously resisted. The God of Law S, who flew out, mainly defended as they released their defense to its peak. Under dozens of powerful attacks, the Death Star that Long Fei had released was forcibly stopped, although it was still falling. But the descent was too slow. It would no longer harm those people in the valley. Very strong. The combined strength of the Evil God Palace and Main Temple was simply too strong. Any one of these two forces was stronger than Long Fei, and if they were to work together, Long Fei would definitely not be his match. He watched as the Death Star was blocked. The evil god laughed complacently. "Ha ha ha. Long Fei, let's see how long you can remain arrogant for. Ha ha." Ancient entry began to distort. The evil god's eyes widened as he shouted, "God Crossbow Hand, get ready." The main door of the ancient entry opened. Arrows filled the sky. It shot out crazily, covering the entire sky and densely. This was to block all of them from entering the entrance and prevent anyone from entering the battleground. However, this time was different from the previous one. This time, Long Fei made some adjustments. Long Fei's lips curled up slightly and laughed. "I can still be arrogant for 10,000 years. Rumble." Ancient entry opened up, and 108 giant clanness rushed out, using their huge bodies to form a meat shield, their bodies forming a king. They are super tanks. Meat. This was a tough battle. This was also a place that was easy to defend but hard to attack. As long as they guarded the exit, Long Fei's people simply could not enter. Even if they rushed in, they would have to pay the price of blood. If it was an ordinary person, it could be said that they would never be able to enter this place. But what is Long Fei? He was a pro. In his previous life, he had played over 100 different kinds of games. From the Ancient Empires games, to the popular legends, to the Legends of the West, to the Stone Age, to the various powerful Blade and Tower games, to the Infernal Domain, to the underground cities and warriors, to the world of magic beasts. He had basically dabbled in them all. Play games? In this alternate world, he could kill 100 million of them with one. Such a fierce battle. The meat tan acted as a shield to block the attack. It opened a path of blood, and the people behind quickly entered, spreading out and launching a powerful counterattack. The giant clan was the best meat. Their physical bodies were extremely powerful, so even if the arrows shot out by these divine crossbows struck them, they would still receive the least amount of damage. Moreover, the most important thing was that every one of them had Long Fei giving them an additional 10 divine healing pills. The 108 giant clan S expanded into a semicircle and crazily pushed forward, allowing the arrows to hit their bodies. Just like a stone person, in less than half a minute, their bodies were covered in arrows and blood. However, none of them fell. Boom, boom, rumble. The 108 people heavily chopped down, forming a huge human wall protecting ancient entry behind them. Every single arrow could fly past them. He could not see what was inside the ancient entry, nor what had come in. The evil god's eyes darkened as he shouted, "Damn it!" although he was trying to crack the god's crossbow. But the evil god wasn't too worried. His preparations were more than mere crossbows. Sword formation. As the sound of the evil god's voice faded, numerous gigantic swords appeared in the air above the valley. It was cold. Each greatsword was more than 10 meters long and incomparably sharp. There was even a dark green poison on the blades. Each sword was placed on a cannon rack. All the gigantic swords were aimed at the ancient entry. The evil god laughed coldly. "Giant clan, right? Then let's see how strong your giant clan can take it." Fire! Shwa! The great sword tore through the air and flew out. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Giant clan can block the god crossbow arrows, but such a powerful greatsword wouldn't be able to block it at all, not even with a sovereign level healing pill. Because this time, he would be killed in an instant. Divine dragon! Long Fei shouted loudly. The colorful fairy dragon rose into the air and flew behind Warrior. Next, the dragons all flew up. The evil god sneered. "What? Now, do you want another race to fight against it?" "Ha ha ha. Long Fei, no matter who it is useless. No one can withstand the power of this greatsword." However, colorful fairy dragon and the rest did not try to block the gigantic sword. Instead, he flew towards the mountain slopes, which were the turrets of the gigantic sword. At the same time, Long Fei moved his body and retracted the Death Star. His figure moved and landed in front of the giant clan. A drop of blood essence fell, and the power of the Ming clan's mark opened. Invincible! Buzz! Long Fei's body released the black energy of the underworld, and all the huge swords stabbed towards him. The evil god was overjoyed and excitedly said, "You are truly a fool, defending others with the sword. Long Fei, even if your body is extremely strong, but you can't block these swords either. Die." As soon as he finished, all the gigantic swords pierced towards Long Fei. Over 100 great swords were as fast as lightning, and the impact was incomparably great. However, as they flew to Long Fei's side, it was as if they were tightly bound by some kind of power. In midair, Long Fei was surrounded by hundreds of gigantic swords. The image was quite sharp. At this time, Long Fei flipped his right hand, and a small golden flame appeared, coiling around all the gigantic swords. The next second, Long Fei coldly spat out one word: "Burn!" Chapter 2161, Evil God. Chapter 2161, Evil God, rumble. Golden flames shot up from the sky. The 100 great swords began to burn, forming a flaming sword. Everyone was shocked. The evil god locked the space between his eyebrows. Fourth skill. It's another power that has never been seen before. Long Fei, just how strong are you? The evil god's heart tightened. All 4 skills appeared. However, didn't feel reassured in his heart. The feeling Long Fei gave him was much stronger than the last time he was in Deep Abyss Mountain. It was really too strong, although the battleground had restrictions on cultivation techniques. However, there is no limit to the power of your cultivation technique. The ancient fire soul's power would not weaken in the slightest. Long Fei's blood essence would not weaken. Seeing Long Fei ignite the gigantic white sword, the evil god's eyes turned cold. He retreated a few steps, but did not let his men retreat. Evil God Palace's warrior was also good. Forget about the main temple S. He wasn't so stupid as to defend against the swords of these low-leveled warrior soldiers like Long Fei did. To him, these soldiers were nothing more than pawns. So be it. It doesn't matter. Turn. Long Fei spoke coldly again. All the large swords turned and linked together, slowly revolving together to form a huge vortex. Boom, boom, boom. His choice was getting faster and faster, just like an invincible wind fire wheel. Suddenly, they fiercely flew out. Flames filled the sky and swept through everything. Wherever they went, not even a blade of grass grew. Those divine crossbow wielders were killed before they could even react. It was too fast. The surrounding god of law, the source spirit demon, general was also quickly standing at their sides. He didn't dare to approach. No one would care about the lives of those low-level warriors. The crowd burst into tears. He covered his head and scurried away. However, it was completely useless. They were quickly harvested and were completely unable to hold on. In the distance, a god of law reported, "Lord God, Long Fei's fourth cultivation technique has appeared. His power in the battleground can no longer break through." Now Hong Tu was very clear. Even if he set up an inescapable trap at the location of the ancient entry, it might not even be enough to trap Long Fei. What he wanted to know was what kind of cultivation method Long Fei chose to enter the battleground. Now, he released all 4 types of cultivation techniques: the law of time, the power of the stars, blood essence, super force of Ming clan. Then there was the ancient fire soul. Although he knew about these techniques, Hong Tu did not know the names of them. Even the vanity deity S on him had no way of knowing about them. Otherwise, Star Book, just these 2 powers alone were enough to cause them to be unable to sit still. Hong Tu slightly nodded. "I understand." Ding, 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 ding. The system beep as echoed crazily. However, these little soldiers' experience were all only one. With Long Fei's current level, these little soldiers' level was too low. He had no more experience. Long Fei did not mind at all. What he needed now was not experience, but slaughter. The god crossbows had all been killed. The soul bead on Long Fei's body uncontrollably flew out, crazily absorbing the soul in the surroundings. At this time, the system kept reminding him. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. It also crazily resounded as it absorbed all of these souls. Only what Long Fei did not understand was, what the hell is this 0? 1. God of Berserkers, energy. Great Devil of Soul has 100 points of Wild God energy, but these little soldiers are only 0. 1. This. Long Fei laughed bitterly, since he was unable to check the soul bead's attributes, and did not know what the Mad God's energy was. He was too lazy to care. When the demon generals saw the soul bead flying out to absorb the soul fragments, their eyes turned sinister. Suddenly, a source spirit demon general suddenly rushed out. Long Fei raised his eyes. At this time, Yen Nantian slightly moved the main artifact sword in his hand, transforming into a carriage of 1,800 to power of main god. Whoosh, 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 asterisk, he was crushed into pieces before he could get close. The soul bead inhaled again. Ding! Wild God energy +2. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart, not because he was exclaiming in admiration for the Soul Devil General's arrogant god energy value, but because he was shocked by his impulses. He said in his heart, "Looks like great Devil of Soul isn't lying. This pearl might really be a sacred artifact of the soul world." Ha ha! Interesting, but what exactly is this wild god energy? The abnormal energy can turn trash into holy artifact. What kind of catalytic force is this wild god energy? Long Fei really wanted to know. His intuition told him that this berserk god's energy must be extremely powerful, capable of carrying lightning with it. It was also at this time. Giant Clan moved out of the way. Behind him, Long Fei's army had all entered the battleground. Their faces were all filled with excitement. In the distance, the evil god laughed coldly and said, "Long Fei, today is just a greeting gift. From now on, there will be a meeting gift every day." Ha ha ha. While they were talking, the shadow of the evil god moved, quickly moving to the back. However, Long Fei did not want to let him off so easily. Buzz. He landed in the sky thousands of kilometers away, directly blocking the evil god's path. He said with a faint smile, "Evil god, you need to give a huge gift in exchange for a meeting. Why are you in such a hurry to leave?" His speed was extremely fast. The evil god barely had time to react. Even the evil god didn't expect that Long Fei would chase after them at this time. He had just entered the battleground and had not been able to stand firm. He should have been able to stabilize himself by now. To actually chase after him, the evil god wasn't afraid. In this battleground, he had never been afraid of anyone before. Even if it were 100,000 planes, he had never been afraid of anyone, and Hong too was the same. The corners of the evil god's mouth curled up as he said, "Are you anxious to die?" Long Fei said, "No, I am anxious to send you to your death." "With just you? With your 4 cultivation techniques?" The evil god sneered. At this moment, the evil god palace's generals and source spirit demons surrounded Long Fei, and Long Fei's people were all thousands of kilometers away. The evil god looked around and said, "Long Fei, you are indeed very strong, but this is the battleground. I am the master here." Before he could finish, Long Fei's figure disappeared. A voice rang out from the void. "Wrong. You are a boss." In that instant, Long Fei rushed out from the void, right in front of the evil god. The evil god was not flustered. Instead, he wore a sneer on his face, and the shadow of an evil being began to flicker on his body. A humming sound exploded as evil figures filled the sky. Every line was an entity. Similarly, every single one of them was a void. They would not come out. His aura, strength, cultivation, and demeanor were all the same. There was not the slightest difference. Long Fei had never seen the evil god make a move. He did not know of his cultivation technique in the battleground. Once the evil god took action, the word valiant was enough to describe him. Chapter 2162, Seal of Evil King versus Black Hole. Chapter 2162, Seal of Evil King versus Black Hole. This was only the first move of the evil god. 3 more moves. Long Fei revealed his own cultivation technique. He also wanted to know what kind of technique the evil god was hiding and what kind of great technique he had. At this moment, Hong Tu, the sovereign, was also watching from afar. Looking at the evil god that filled the sky, the corner of Long Fei's mouth twitched, And he asked, "Clone?" The evil god laughed coldly. "Clone? Ha ha ha. Is that what you understand?" Too weak. Voices filled the sky as the void exploded. His eardrums could not bear it. Even those god of law that were thousands of kilometers away were frowning as if they couldn't withstand the sound. What a powerful strength. I've never seen the evil god take action before. I never thought that he would possess such a great power with just a casual move. Moreover, every avatar of his is a physical entity. Rather than call it a clone, it's more like a physical entity. Too strong. No wonder he was called the #1 sovereign. This time, Long Fei is going to die. He's seeking death himself, and he's even trying to probe out the evil god's cultivation method, yet he's actually stopping the evil god. Isn't he being too arrogant this time? Ha ha ha. Many people sneered. Evil god. Powerhouse. Powerhouse. The one who had stood shoulder to shoulder with sovereigns tens of thousands of years ago. He had always been in battleground, although he didn't win. But tens of thousands of years, just this amount of time, was enough to crush everything. How high was his cultivation? It was unimaginable. Jojo was slightly worried. Bawang Hua had a fiery temper and said, "What are we still doing here?" "Charge forward." Jojo immediately said, "Don't move recklessly. We will only create trouble for young master in the future, and let him deal with it himself." Yen Nantian said, "Miss Jojo is right. Long Fei can handle it." Everyone watched. Long Fei's eyes swept in all directions, and said while looking at the evil gods that filled the sky, "Did you misunderstand? Then let's see what my mistake is." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's right hand sank. Great devil of souls, soul-slaying blade appeared in his hand. With a step, the blade chi-raged, sweeping outwards. Shwa! One slash in the air. The blade chi slashed horizontally for thousands of kilometers. Long Fei's cultivation had already reached peak realm. In terms of levels, he is not weaker than the evil god. The evil god laughed coldly. "You want to fight me? Long Fei, you are far from being enough." As soon as he finished, the shadow of evil goddess that filled the sky gathered together crazily, combining together to form a huge, illusory figure. It could also be said that they had turned into a gigantic, physical evil god. It was incomparably huge. It covered the sky. This feeling, just like how a monkey was in the hands of Lord Tathagata the Buddha, it was incomparably huge, towering into the clouds. The gigantic blade chi that Long Fei released slashed horizontally across, hitting the evil god's body without the slightest bit of damage. The evil god flipped his right hand. Rumble! A dark handprint flipped across the sky, heavily smashing towards Long Fei, extremely powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The waves of energy rose as powerful impact sounds spread out, covering the entire battleground. A palm struck down. Long Fei's mind sank. The ancient fire soul immediately released a palm and welcomed it with a palm. Bam! The power exploded crazily, shooting out beams of golden light. Long Fei's body exploded outwards, the blood in his chest tumbled, and he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of fresh blood. His entire body flew out tens of thousands of kilometers like a meteorite falling, smashing a large part of the mountain range into ruins. Pucci! In the deep pit, Long Fei spat out another mouthful of blood, clenching his fists tightly. F***CK. He knew that the evil god was stronger. How could the second strongest boss not be strong? But he never thought that the evil god would be strong to such an extent. Compared to the sovereigns of the God's Mountain, he was not weak at all. He's really strong. I like it. Ha ha. Long Fei's mouth hooked up, revealing an excited smile. his body sinking down, he rose from the ground, and in half a second, he once again landed in front of the evil god and said, "Strong, full of strength." The stronger the boss, the more excited Long Fei became. The evil god's technique of enlarging made Long Fei feel extremely excited. The evil god sneered, "Full force? Humph! There's something even more interesting." The evil god clasped his hands together as soon as he finished speaking. Buzz! Evil rays of light burst forth from his entire body. His enormous body shimmered in the air, giving off the impression that he was a Buddha in person. However, one was the light of Buddha, one was full of evil lights. Boom! Boom! The evil light sprinkled down from the sky and enveloped Long Fei tightly. The evil light formed a protective barrier and immediately turned into a cage, trapping Long Fei inside. Inside the cage, Long Fei could clearly feel his cultivation going berserk. His holy power value was decreasing. His physical defenses were weakening and his strength was weakening, as if the tide was ebbing away. The evil god laughed coldly. "There's more to it." Suddenly, in the sky of the evil light, there was a giant square imprint, which was like the heaven-tearing imprint. 9 ferocious demonic beasts roared as they fell from the sky. The second move. Long Fei frowned. Evil god's main artifact. Ancient main artifact. Seal of Evil King. Seal of Evil King. It really is a seal of Evil King. No wonder. It's no wonder the evil god could live for millions of years. Seal of Evil King, also known as the Undying Seal. Concealed within was the Immortal Seal technique, which was also a super main artifact. Legend. In the primordial era, there were 100,000 planes. It was a divine artifact which had been used by the first sovereign. Contained within incomparably evil energies was the ability of the 9 evil king beasts imprinted on the imprint to devour all of their power. This was also the reason why the power on Long Fei's body had been drained. Seal of Evil King. God Hong Tu's eyes also narrowed slightly as he muttered, "Wang Xie, I didn't think that you would actually have an ancient main artifact on you. This is only your second cultivation technique. I presume you have a stronger cultivation technique." He hid his strength well enough. Sovereigns were all secretly shocked. This showed how sharp the Seal of Evil King was. Seal of Evil King, as came crashing down. Long Fei looked up at the black mark, smiled slightly, and said, "Good stuff. I like it. Now, he's mine now." While they were talking, Long Fei released yet another drop of his blood essence. The evil god laughed coldly. "Defense power? Humph. Long Fei, it's no use in front of the Seal of Evil King. Any form of defense is just a decoration. Get ready to die." He was extremely confident in the strength of the Seal of Evil King. "They had originally been prepared for you, Master God, but if he could kill Long Fei in front of the battleground, and the others, the third hegemon, he would receive a great reward. With this reward, dealing with sovereigns would probably be much simpler." The evil god looked at the distant Hong Tu, and the corners of his mouth curled slightly. In that instant, the Seal of Evil King's power became even more powerful and violently crushed down. Buzz. A drop of his blood essence fell onto the dragon-shaped mark on his right arm. Boom. Long Fei's body suddenly sank, his entire body turning scarlet red. He was secretly shocked in his heart. Is the side effect going to happen soon? In the distance, Jojo's face changed greatly as he instantly rushed out. No matter what. The blood essence landed on the dragon-shaped mark, and a dark energy from within the dragon-shaped mark was released. This time, the power was even more ferocious, because in Long Fei's right hand, a huge black hole appeared. Thank you for your support. You want to scam lousy? You want to scam lousy? Dark matter. Black hole. The existence that swallowed everything in the universe was controlled by Long Fei. Last time, this wasn't the power that was used to deal with Zhan Wushuang. A bit more had changed. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. Pure blood stimulation process. He was also unable to grasp or perhaps knew what kind of energy it was that was stimulated from the dragon-shaped mark, but it was clearly much stronger than last time. The entire battleground was trembling. The black hole on Long Fei's right hand was like a galaxy, flickering with spots of cold light. The evil god's eyes sank. Fifth cultivation method. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There is an absolute limit in the battleground. You can't have the fifth cultivation technique. The evil god said with a heavy heart, looking at the black vortex in Long Fei's hands. He felt a chill in his heart for some reason. A cold chill. Never. For tens of thousands of years, the evil god had never experienced such a feeling. This was fear. The evil god's heart shook. Wang. The fear in his heart was expelled from his body in an instant. I am the incarnation of evil. Why would I be afraid? The evil god roared in his heart as the seal of evil king in the sky came crashing down. He said solemnly, Long Fei die. At the same time, Long Fei's eyes were blazing with anger. Evil god, explode. His right hand moved, lifting it up to the sky. The black hole instantly began to emit a tremendous power, and the world of darkness immediately covered the sky. Buzz. 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 Buzz, buzz. The entire battleground was enveloped in darkness. This scene was exactly the same as before. Darkness shrouded the world. This was the world of the chief sovereign of darkness. The black hole also crazily burst out. Long Fei felt the power within the black hole slightly, and his mind shook intensely. He was overwhelmed with shock in his heart. Is this the power of the ancient inheritance? However, not really. Long Fei was unable to release the power of the ancient inheritance with his current cultivation, pure blood stimulation process. It could only release the power of ancient inheritance S on the surface. Long Fei's cultivation was currently too weak. He was still unable to truly control the power of ancient inheritance S. Of course, even the true strength of the ancient inheritance was considered unparalleled among the 100,000 dimensions, because it came from the inheritance power of the ancient world. Darkness filled the skies. Higher, thicker, and larger, I'll let you become whatever you want. Bring it on. Swallow it. Long Fei let out a heavy roar, and the vortex in the dark world began to swirl crazily, dragging the incomparably large evil god into the darkness. The seal of Evil King S attacked. However, before it could crush down, it was swallowed by darkness. After absorbing the seal of Evil King's power, the black hole started to wreak havoc. The evil god was struggling to hold on, the old tree rooted to the ground, but he still kept on moving, unable to withstand the black hole's devouring power. A ray of light flashed in his eyes, and with a heavy roar, he said, Hong Tu, are you still not going to make your move? He couldn't hold on any longer. They could only ask Sovereign Hong Tu for help. In the distance, where Hong Tu was, a bright light scattered everywhere. He was not shrouded in darkness. Looking at the evil god in the darkness, Hong Tu laughed blandly. Wang Xia, what does your life and death have to do with me? You. The evil god became angry and said, We are allies. If I die, how good will you be? From today onwards, I will withdraw from the battleground. Ha 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 ha. Does it matter if you leave the battleground or not? Haven't you always fought with me in the battleground for tens of thousands of years? Have you ever won? The reason why I left you in battleground and did not touch you is because you are not worthy to be my opponent. Understand? As for the alliance, it's just a joke. I just want to see if you've made any progress in these past few years. It's a bit of a pity that you haven't made any progress in these 10 million years. You're still a waste. Hong Tu said coldly. Disdain was written all over his face. He had never even thought of letting Wang Xie go, and never took him seriously either. The evil god's eyes flashed with a cold light. Hong Tu, your ancestor. Then, the evil god looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, let me go. I will defeat him together with you. Long Fei shrugged his shoulders. No need. Without you, I would have been able to defeat him too. When he entered the battleground, he had already made all the preparations. Thus, from the start, he did not have any hesitation, and directly chose the pure blood stimulation process to get revenge on the evil god. There was no room for him at all. The evil god stared at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, you will need me. I will definitely be useful. The word begging had come out. It could be seen that the evil god really couldn't take it anymore. Ha ha ha. Hong Tu laughed out loud and said, Wang Xie, you are truly a pitiful bug. You have lived for thousands of years, yet you, an evil god of your generation, are actually begging your enemies. You are truly pitiful. He mocked. Disdain. The evil god was being increasingly sucked into the black hole. At this moment, the evil god furiously roared and said, Hong Tu, even if I die, I will not let you live an easy life. Ah. Boom. The power of the evil god suddenly exploded, and the energy within his body was frantically being released. Long Fei, I hope you can kill him. Come, accept my inheritance. Rumble. It directly rushed towards Long Fei's head. This is the evil god's lifelong power. However, the faraway Hong Tu's lips curled up slightly as he let out a cold laugh. Ha ha ha. It's about to come out. After receiving the power of the evil god, it'll be much easier to fight against the sovereign. Ha ha ha. This is twice as much strength. He's actually becoming a sovereign of death. The army behind Long Fei all became excited. After all, this was the power of the evil god, the second strongest powerhouse in the 100,000 dimensions. Who would refuse such a power? The god of law on the side of the main temple also started to worry. We can't let him receive the evil god's inheritance. Absolutely not. Hurry up and interrupt him. We can't let him accept it. This is bad. They were worried. Once this abnormal Long Fei received the evil god's inheritance, his power would explode and increase. At that time, he was truly afraid that he would overthrow the main temple in the future. However, Sovereign Hong Tu was not worried at all. He didn't have any intention of stopping them, but he had a cold smile on his face. Moreover, what surprised everyone was Long Fei did not immediately absorb the energy released by the evil god. With a sudden burst of strength, the black hole roared and directly swallowed the evil god inside. After half a second, the system beep did not ring, and Long Fei laughed. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.